Hey everybody, I think I am the only one here right now, so let me alert some others. Right. This is fun. Okay, I'm here by myself. All right, so what shall I do in the meantime? I guess in case I gotta turn this off. So here I am live trading the TPG fund IPO. I'm going to start by pulling up the good old Webull app so I can check the share imbalance. And I will try adding this. Hey, what's up? Some random buzzing being my computer. Yeah, I'm not sure how to handle that. I could go to a different mic, pull out the mic, see if that helps. I have to be down a monitor at that point, but FGI postponed. Hit the like button. Yeah, please do. I don't believe FGI is postponed. I believe they priced last night, and we're going to pull up the. Oh yeah, FGI is postponed. FGI is postponed to next week. Looks like it's on for the 20th. So unfortunately, we are not going to get that one today. I'm going to pull up the Weeble. No one's here to see me. Hold on, the mic's going to go dead for a second. And I'm going to put this up to moving some things around. This is your first time here. Bear with me. It's my first time here as well. So we're all on the bleeding edge of the learning curve. I have to kill this monitor to improve the mic sound. Let's see if we go completely silent. All right. Can you guys hear me out there? Is this mic working? Hello, hello? Or the buzzing get even louder. Test, test. Cam mic. Nikon webcam. Droid cam. Show advanced options. No, we want to stay there. Audio. We want to go there, I think. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, much better. Thank you, guys. All right, so let's share the screen on the Weeble. This is, I think, what people want to see a little bit more than they want to see me. Can I move myself around? No, move myself down there. That's better. All right, so if you guys can see this, what we're looking at, it's pretty small, but we're looking at this share imbalance up here, and it shows 31.25. So on the left here, I'm going to give this a little more breathing room since there's no chart to see right now. So what we have here is we've got the level 2 data. This is the order book, which doesn't mean a whole lot, except that we see that there's a pretty large sell order for 100,000 shares here at $32. The buy orders don't really matter. If you're trying to buy in on the debut, you can set your price at anything. Just because someone's put 10 shares for $140 doesn't mean that they're going to get there, that they'd still be willing to pay that kind of money if it got all the way up to to that debut. But I think we've got some time on this one. There's, what are they balancing? About 540,000 shares right now. We're still really early. There's a heavy sell side imbalance that kind of shows me a little bit of weakness in this debut. And the the price here is really just incrementally above the IPO price. The IPO price we saw was 29.50. That was mid range. So this is kind of like at the upper end of the original range. Shows me that there's a little bit of demand for this, but it's nothing particularly spectacular. There's a very good chance I'm just going to pass on playing this lot off a live debut. I'm a little bit tied up in some swing trades that are kind of break even ish right now, and the market's pulling back on a lot of those positions. I guess EVs, someone mentioned here, Ford breaking out. Those were pretty strong yesterday. So I don't know if the market's really looking to jump into a new IPO right now. Down to 350 on the buy sell side imbalance. I like to watch this right from the beginning because it shows me a bit of the range in terms of where people are, where there's more buyers and sellers. Don't get me wrong, this isn't about, I doubt this is about to go live anytime soon. It's still just 10 o'clock Eastern right now, and these often take an hour or two before they've balanced up all the shares. If you're dead set on playing this on the debut, there's no harm in putting your order in now. What you want to do is you want to set your limit order. You want to go into your trading account, set a limit order above this buy side, or sorry, this indication price. So the indication price is showing 31.50 right now. So if you put your limit order at $32. If it went live at any time, it's going to get filled right on the debut, and you're in a good position. If it does start to climb up, you're locked in at the best price possible. If you think maybe, hey, this might be a little bit weak, I'll try to catch it. Maybe there's more sellers than buyers on the debut, and it drops 50 cents or $1. So you can try to undercut that. To me, that's not generally a great option for a strong debut. When we see stocks that are going to fly, we're playing on the conviction that, hey, this is going to go up. So if you start undercutting, it's kind of like, yeah, you're undercutting the price. You're also undercutting your own conviction. And then I start to ask myself, why am I playing it in the first place? Not every IPO is going to, is going to blow up off the debut. I see people comping Blackstone. Yeah, I made that comparison in the newsletter and talked about it on the Benzinga show. Makes a case for us bringing up Blackstone right now. So let's look at BX. Blackstone has been, I mean, look, it's pretty far down in the last 2 days. It fell, these dailies or minutes? Oh, these are minutes, sorry. Let's look at the daily charts here on Blackstone. So Blackstone, I mean, you got to see some resistance here down at 108, maybe at the 110 level where it's sort of flirting with that now. But you can see why a company like TPG wanted to go live, sooner rather than later. Here we are at that kind of March 20th, 2020 COVID dip. Before that, we saw a lot of these. I mean, almost all the financials were. Almost every stock in the index dropped on in mid May or mid March 2020, and since then this has gone on an insane climb. Before that, we had kind of up and down. If we look at the weeklies, we'll see that off of its initial IPO, it fell down pretty far. I don't believe, that's a little bit, we're going back to 2008 financial crisis numbers, so we'll toss those out. These sort of, traded in, Blackstone didn't trade all that high up here. Then it sort of in the mid to 2015, 2016 or 13, I guess it started climbing up, and it's been on more or less an upward trajectory since then. Another one, while it's not really a comp, but Goldman Sachs would be my guess, a very similar chart, almost identical. So, we already went live. We haven't gone live. We're looking at Goldman. Let's look at another one. This is the, I guess on the app we can stack 3. So, got Goldman, we've got Blackstone, BX. If we put put this on let's put them all on the dailies. And pretty similar charts here. Let's put them back on the weeklies. I mean, it's like really nearly identical. Okay, so if we were to project this onto TPG, we would expect that TPG would have been worth, what, a third, half of what it was worth, what it's worth now, a year and a half ago. And which is probably why they see now as a great opportunity to take their stock to the market. So what are your thoughts out there? To me, it's not a super exciting IPO. If it was, it probably would have gotten pulled here. Justworks pulled their IPO. They were slated to go live today. It had a 7 million share float. Pretty strong growth numbers, decent financials for a software play. I didn't love the margins at just 10% on it's essentially a human resources software platform. But this market is not, I don't see a huge appetite for new stocks right now, so it doesn't surprise me that that we're seeing this trend. I think we're going to see a pretty tepid IPO market here in the first quarter of the year. Hopefully in March, things start settling out in terms of interest rates and inflation, and we see a little bit more appetite in the market for these IPOs. If you've never played an IPO before, this is a bit of an all-day event. I'm going to pull back to TPG here. The IPO process goes like this. The week before the IPO, you're going to have this company going out to financial institutions, explaining who they are, why people should buy this stock, what their projections are, basically doing a roadshow and pitching big blocks of stock to investment banks, to hedge funds, to the big buyers of stocks. And once that kind of process is over, then we have I'm going to go ahead. Give me a second here. I see the share imbalance starting to come down to just 975, and in this market, I really don't know. I kind of like this. I'm not going to take a huge position. I'm just going to take a little starter play here, and so I'm putting in I don't really want to show my screen here. I'll do a screenshot in a second, but I'm putting in a small order for TPG at put my limit price at, so we're starting to see 31.31 with 1,000 share imbalance. So this really could go live anytime. I'm going to go ahead and put my order in. Take a screenshot so you see exactly how I'm doing this. Here's my screen. Oh, wait. YouTube. I've been advised to keep some of my details of my trades less public, so I'm not going to show you exactly what I'm playing here, but I am going to show you, this is how you enter your order. You're going to put, this is on E-Trade, you put in your symbol here. I'm looking up at the imbalance price up here. It says 31.25, so I want to go above that. I don't feel the need to go tremendously high above that. The price type, I'm putting in a limit order. The limit price I'm putting in is 32, so just going slightly above that. If you want to try to undercut it, be my guest. We do see over here that there's a pretty large ask at 32, which is probably going to keep that from from breaching that. If it does clear that, and the numbers, they will change, but I would like to kind of make mental notes and see that, okay, well, if we get if we do get a run, we've got a pretty large sell order here at 35, but maybe we got some space to fill here. That looks pretty good. Do we have buy side demand? No, nothing particularly exciting over here, but again, my theory on this one is that we're getting a very fair price for the market. So if I end up having to hold this a little bit, I'm okay with that as well. The duration, good for day, it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to get filled right away. And then you're just going to preview and submit your order. That's what the order setup looks like if you're looking to buy an IPO on the debut. I've done it many times, especially for kind of momentum IPOs. I believe Reddit is going to give us something pretty interesting. I don't really want to miss the opening trade on that. So this is how you catch that opening trade. All right, reading some notes here. I would just use percentages as far as limit orders. I would not pay more than 10% premium for an open. The problem is that a lot of the best runners have been way more than 10%. Especially in kind of late 2000, early 2001, where almost every IPO was just shooting up out of the gates. We were seeing debut premiums in the kind of 40, 50, 60% range. And when you have, it's almost paradoxical in the sense that when you only have a 10% debut premium, you often don't have enough demand to really send things upwards. I would venture to say that all of the best performers debuted at premiums way above 10%. So it's great when you see, in a cold market and you see a strong stock debut with just a 10% premium. That is a setup that I kind of like, but I'm not sure that that's what I'm looking for in a real high flyer. So if the market warms up a bit and later in the year we see something like Zoom, if Zoom does their IPO, it's going to debut at more than a 10% premium. So IPOs lately have been the top tick at the open. Depends which one. Not all of them have. We saw, an exception to that certainly last week with Hour Loop. The opened up at 450, halted up and down a little bit, but didn't break below that, and then ran over 10. We saw, let's see, have to go back ways. HCP, which was the last kind of mainstream IPO that we had back on December 9th, that debuted, I believe, at 81, just above the IPO price, and then topped out at 90 or so. It was a nice 10% gain opportunity there. We just haven't had a lot of mainstream IPOs going back until November, really. November, we saw Sweet Green. That one was way too high of a premium. Debut premium was almost 100% over the IPO price it started trading. And, Backblaze, Braze, Expensify, Rivian. Those all debuted and then ran up. So we have plenty, and they debuted at premiums, almost all of them above 10% of the price. So yeah, Hour spiking. Yeah, Hour's been pretty impressively volatile in the last over the last week. It's gone on a few significant runs. It's low float. The free float on Hour is still $1.50. I do like recent low float IPOs for swing trades. Keep an eye on them and buy them when they kind of bottom out. Some of the less pharmaceutical biotechs often get, we saw this with NXGL. We've seen it a lot with IANN. They have low floats. They're kind of on people's radars. The quiet period, expires and then runs up. So some of these, if you're kind of tracking the range and you start accumulating down kind of below the range before you get a boost, those can be profitable trades. I like to think of them as, maybe having lower downside, but you kind of got to just park and build. It worked out really well for me with IINN. But I was sitting way upside down for a while before it got that first big spike where it ran up over 9 on the kind of first distribution deal. I loaded up again. It ran again on the next deal, sold that. Started loading up on this dip a little bit early, but just added some as well. So yeah, keep an eye. I mean, we saw Hour, we saw PIK, we saw Vine, crash on the debut and then drop and drop and drop, and then sort of all of a sudden picks up some kind of windfall and blows up. So these IPOs do have the chance to, those low float IPOs, they can be very volatile. All they need is any sniff of a headline. I think with NXGL yesterday, it was in the morning, they dropped some announcement that they had a new product launch. They were selling it on Amazon, which isn't really even a big announcement, but it shot the stock up like 30 or 40%. So we are seeing the buy side imbalance. You see a buy side imbalance with just with a very small number of shares. This is usually what it looks like before it starts trading. We start seeing pennies instead of big numbers, down to 1 share. The first time it sort of gets into that pinch, I get excited, but remind myself that, hey, this is a new one. Okay, SPY is crashing. Well, that's not a good thing. I'm seeing a lot of red on my swing trades here. Just gotta kind of, I'm happy with the positions I have right now. I'm in kind of some, I don't know, I guess you'd call them fallen angel growth stocks. I like Unity. I sold out of that up already. I like Sentinel. I'm in at that one, down below where it's at right now. Probably should have gotten out of that yesterday. But I do end up playing a lot of recent IPOs because those are kind of the stocks I know. I believe that they offer volatility, which can work for you or against you. You just need to try to pick the right ones, I guess. That goes for any trading. But over time, you will become, I look at some like, oh yeah, that's an IPO, and I go, oh no, that was like from 2 years ago. I don't even know if we consider that a recent IPO anymore. So you do it does help you build your index of stocks that you're aware of. I think especially if you're a new trader and you're coming to the market, what do you know about what the brands that you use and love every day, but you probably don't know a lot of. I mean, nobody can know all the stocks. Don't buy the FOMO on TPG because there's no reason to. Yeah, I would say that I like the starting point on this one. It could crash. It could go. I don't think it'll crash too far down. The IPO price was $29.50. I don't know how many IPO buyers are going to be unloading for an immediate loss. I feel like this is an opportunity. We talked about this before where TPG was even on the calendar, was that in this market, the first kind of soldier out the door, the first IPO to hit the floor here is probably going to give us a decent long-term opportunity. I mean, it's one thing if the market just dives from here, but this is conservatively priced. If this came out, say in September of last year, or if it came out a year ago in the January, February momentum push in 2021, I'm sure the premium on this would be much higher. The price would be higher, the premium would be higher, the value would be less. So yeah, ladder trading, I think, is what Harry is mentioning here in the chat. Ladder trade is where you set a series of limit orders. I don't know, this light keeps going up and down. Where you set a series of ladder trades sort of descending, usually down from, say, you start at 31, another at 30, another at 29, or whatever increments you want. And you're basically anticipating a little bit of a drop here and willing to ladder yourself in, hoping that it then reverses or comes back up. I like that. That might be a good model here. I'm playing such a small position on this one for the kind of heck of it. And I am not going to try to do anything too fancy here. I think that we very likely could see a bit of a dip here. If I see it dip and then baseline, I'll wait for a little drop from there to maybe double down, and that gives me the chance to get out at even at a lower price point. But let me send out a little tweet here and see if we can bring a few more heads to the party here. On scale, yeah, it's not a bad plan. That's what I've been doing on the swing trades. If anything, may have started a little bit early, but for long positions, that's how you do it. I am not a great day trader. I've done, since 2014, done pretty well picking stocks, but tech and growth has been my thing, and those are not the fashionable dates over the last couple of months. So I scaled out of most of those positions starting in November to December. But I do like this dip, but feels like every time we get CPI data or the Fed speaks, we get about 2 or 3 days of pain. And day 3 is usually the data to buy in. So I might have gotten in a little bit early or should have taken some out yesterday, but not here to focus too much on my swing trades and more. CFSB. Let's check that out. CFSB. CFSB. You're saying this is for sale. Okay. That's not for today. That's something that I will check out in the future here. Are you saying CFSB? I'm going to check my phone real quick. CFSB. Saying that's in the IPO center. Yeah, it says it's going live today. I'm not seeing any crossing yet. I am seeing the I'm seeing it listed. I'm seeing level 2 data. Let me check on so here's another tool I like to use. This is Benzing Pro. Bring it up over here and put in a ticker. So what I really like about this, other than it gives you kind of what's the leaderboard of the day, is the newsfeed is pretty helpful. A lot of times they'll have the IPO. They'll say here like TPG will open for quote at 9:50, expected to open for trade at 10. I pretty much disregard this when they expect it to open for trade. That's not accurate. They have no way of knowing. That's just, but they do. This seems to be pretty accurate, and this gives me a good idea of when I need to start paying attention. I like to see the imbalance move from the beginning because it shows me a little bit of what the range is. Here, let's see if they have any information on CFSB. So we'll see CFSB. Priced at 10. CFSB open for quote at 11. So we've still got about 25 minutes until CFSB Bancorp opens. I will put that away. And yeah, Benzinga Pro. It's a great platform for news. Obviously, I appear on the Benzinga show, and TPG allocations. I actually put in an allocation request there, so I didn't check that. Doesn't look like they gave me anything, so I'm gonna say thanks for nothing. Always interested to know pre-order allocation. Did you get any JMFD? I mean, meager allocations is a pretty good sign, actually. When not giving it out to retail, then again, they didn't price it very. They priced the IPO in range, so I think that the indication there is that institutional investors were kind of like, we'll sit and wait a little bit. We'll see how it does. Ben Squawk Box. Yeah, benzing a squawk box. I like that too. Sometimes it's a little annoying, but it does give you real time breaking news, which sometimes you'll get a headline that nobody else is getting, which is interesting. Kind of jump on things real quick. Also, Weeble. All right, Zen Trader. Yep, thanks. Thanks. See that. All right, let's do like a little quick dive on, I guess, CISO. CISO, I guess uh, allocations on the direct offering go through, or the secondary offering go through tomorrow. I put in a small request there just to see what happens. It's Bosted Securities is the underwriter, and they've participated in some kind of fantastically combustible IPOs and secondaries. So kind of want to watch anything they do. But Cerebus, I looked at their company. They appear to have pretty much bought up a bunch of security, kind of local security companies that do cybersecurity for, I don't know, local businesses in their area. I went through their S1 and they seem to have bought up about 10 or 15 kind of small companies, small looking companies. And I don't know if that's how I mean, the revenue jump is kind of impressive on paper, but if you're just claiming that based on buying up companies that, and then just tacking on their revenue to your books, not sure how much that really says about the growth of your services or the growth of of your business. So it's interesting. We'll check that one. CFSB. I just want to do a quick search on who the underwriter here is. CFSB definitely showed up out of nowhere here, and that's always interesting. CFSB. Go S1. All right, so the S1 here says it's loading up for a second. Dear subscriber, something something. This doesn't even look like an S1. Closing out that. Opening up this one. Here we go. I'll share this with you guys so we can all be looking at the same thing. Oh, now my screen's frozen. Good job. All right, my computer can only handle so much stress at a time, but I might have to close that. Oh boy. All right, bear with me here, guys. We are frozen in time. Are we back? Nope, even task manager is broken. Oh yeah, Chrome is definitely a resource hog. I also have 4 monitors, a camera, a mic, headphones. I got a lot of things sucking Are we back? No? All right. Chrome killing me. Okay. Not sure what to do here. Restart. Am I here? Am I online again? Okay, maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking to myself. Who knows? Task manager. Let's just try to find out. No, PDFs are killing me. Federally chartered. Okay. Okay, let's just check the underwriter here real quick. File underwriter. Nope, don't even mention it. Assets and liabilities, blah, blah, blah. Assets, 307 million. It's a little bit strange that there's no underwriter for the IPO. Okay, I'm back. Thanks, Trader. Nope, you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so CISO was trading at like, I don't know, $4 or $5 2 months ago and has since traded up to, 48 right now, but it's like on a few thousand shares. So I don't know what the game is behind that move, but it doesn't seem organic to me. Feels like somebody got in, and I pretty much stay away from the bank IPOs, to be honest. They are um, pretty slow movers. I mean, what I'm looking for is demand. I'm looking for retail kind of hype and momentum. I'm looking for people who, for something that people are interested in buying up right away. And I don't really see that here. And it actually makes me kind of wonder if TPG is one that's going to do the same thing. And matter of fact, given where the market is headed and my swing trade positions in the last couple minutes have all gone from slightly green to break even ish or red. And I don't really want to be extended in anything else right now. So I am going to watch this one from the sidelines for now. I'm canceling my order. This one is just, and this market is a little bit, I don't like seeing this big sell side imbalance sitting at 32 the whole time. If they bring it down to like 30, then maybe. But when I see sell order blocks kind of blocking any upside here, I like it if we can get past that 32, though. There are people willing to pay up to 40, maybe. This means nothing to me. It's just not a super exciting IPO. I mean, no way I can hype myself into wanting to play this. There's been a dearth of IPOs, and it looks like we might be hungry for IPO action for a while here. So, the boredom play is something I've learned to try to stay away from. I'm gonna watch this one and narrate it. I will call this play for play, but we could be here a little while. So, if you haven't played IPOs, the process is that we see this sort of imbalancing. And what they're doing is they're saying, okay, to all the people who bought the IPO, who paid $29.50, who's trying to sell their shares right now? And right now we've got 1.24 plus 148. So we've got about 1.3 million shares that people who bought the IPO are kind of like, all right, I'm willing to sell right now for this price of 32. I guess we have 1.26 willing to sell who have been matched up with buyers, and an extra 140, well, now about 100,000 shares that are being requested at 32, but they don't have sellers willing to match that price. So uh, now that we see it switch to a buy side imbalance, I feel a little bit more, especially with those kinds of, we'll see that flash of 200,000. Now I start to feel like, hey, this is dull and boring works in this market. Actually, I think that's right. And actually, I'm going back and forth a little bit on this. I'll wait a little bit longer before I re-enter a trade. I'm definitely interested in this one. Like I said before, cold markets, strong companies gives pretty good value. So that's something I try to keep in mind. And just might have to hold this a little bit. My question becomes then, is this market really going to crash for a day or two or more? Or are we, is a fresh issue going to be like this one going to be something that people are attracted to? Does make me feel a little bit tentative, given that the big money players decided, not to jump into the high end of the price range. Would have been nice to see this price say at the high end of the price range. At least it didn't price below. But you have to assume that this is a company that all of the major investment firms who buy IPOs are aware of. Here we go. Got some CFSB data here from Harry. The company sold 2.8 million shares, $10 per share for all valid orders were filled. Oh, it's a direct listing. Okay. Can anybody? I don't want to crash my computer again. Anybody else find out who the underwriter was there? I'm gonna check it out over here. On the other monitor. Okay. Bancorp, 2.8 million shares, pretty low float, very low float. Mm-hmm. No. NASDAQ must be jumping off a cliff right now. Yep. NASDAQ down quite a bit. Up from a few days ago, but yeah, we're getting to that kind of low end of the dip territory where start adding to your positions if you still got buying power. Piper Sandler. Okay. All right. Well, we're seeing a buy side imbalance at 32. It's hard to get a read on these. I'm not. Justworks has been moved back. So, one thing I like to do when I'm watching these is head over to Twitter and see what people are saying about it. Let's do the gold test. So what I'm doing is I'm not just looking at the. We do have TPG, IPO, long open print, quick scalp. Okay, well, those guys are. I like these guys. Watch their YouTube sometimes. Okay, market squeeze weeks through. There's no more buyers. So we had to lower this. Now that David is out of the way, there's no need to hold up the markets. Yeah. So I think what this guy's referring to is that there's a theory that the market makers like to keep the market strong when big IPOs are coming up. TPG is a pretty solid IPO, and we did expect there to be strength going into the IPO. the so maybe they just held it up long enough to get it out the door, as in sell it to their investment bankers and whatnot. So okay, Webull is saying that JW is crossing now. We've seen that before, where IPOs get rescheduled and Webull still shows some kind of crossing. Let's just check this out. JW. No crossing, no order book. So I'm going to say that's not happening. Yeah, everywhere I'm reading it, it's saying Justworks is not doing its IPO today. So I'm going to go with that theory. I'm not sure that I mean, that would be a pretty tricky one to be confident on, have any confidence in on a day like today. I mean, when the market is just falling on its knees and begging for mercy, it's not generally a day that a growth, even with decent financials, some kind of growth software tech company wants to probably go live. I can't imagine people being super excited. You really can get a. I mean, these are very mood-driven plays. The IPOs, when Sweet Green debuted last month or a month and a half ago, I mean, there was so much. There was an intense demand for it. Everybody wanted it. Everybody wanted to get the next Portillo's, the next, um, the next Dutch Brothers, and it wasn't like that. It was, I mean, it was, if you bought the IPO shares, you did really well because it debuted at, I think, 51 after pricing at 28. So on the days where there's a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement around these, it's palpable. You can feel it. So people are sharing their allocations. Asked for 4,000 shares, got 30. Someone just threw the BX going public. The news came on. TPI, look back at BX and where the markets are trading. Da-da-da-da. So everyone's talking about it. That's kind of a good sign, just that there's buzz around it. Everyone is paying close attention. Da-da-da-da. So just reading through these a little bit. Very long-term portfolio. Okay, people like it. Shut it to Joel. Da-da-da-da. TPG. I imagine that this is getting some buzz on the regular media as well. We can jump in on that as well and see if anyone's talking about. I don't get in trouble for this, but oh well. These are the kind of live streaming things I use. Yeah, VDNT. Okay, Joe. I don't think we came here to watch that. Yeah, so people are talking about it. A lot of people kind of looking like they want to add it. I don't know if they're going to buy the debut. Here we've been locked on 32 with the heavy buy-side imbalance. The buy-side imbalance keeps increasing. It looks like in a sort of holding pattern here. Again, I'm going to hold out a little bit longer before making a decision on this one. So when I'm watching this and I see this huge share imbalance, I know that nothing's going to happen immediately until this number gets to, 3 digits or, really lower than that. I don't start to think that we're anywhere close to going live. This can go on for quite a while, and I gotta think of what I'm going to fill time with on these. I was hoping we were going to have 3 IPOs today, but Doesn't look like it. The process right now, what they're doing is the IPO buyers are trying to, the trading desks are, or market makers, whatever you want to call them, are trying to match up the number of buyers with the number of sellers in terms of share count to determine what is the price going to start at, what is the opening trade going to be. And I kind of hate this whole process. I don't know where they came up with this. On one hand, it makes sense. You say, okay, well, they have to do this when they do trade halts, so maybe that's what they tapped into, or maybe it's vice versa. I don't know why they can't just say, okay, here's the IPO price, go at it. If nobody wants to buy it, no one wants to sell it, just let it start trading when somebody one side balks and says, okay, I'll take your order. But they do it this way, and it generally works out. I mean, obviously, a reason that they do it is that it typically works out for the IPO buyers, which are, a more exclusive club who are generally a lot more wealthy than retail traders. So it favors them on most strong IPO debuts. There are IPOs that debut below the IPO price. Those typically are the ones where retail traders get allocations, though. I put in a lot of requests on E-Trade for IPO allocations and never got one until DD and DNUT. Both of DNUT did not didn't do too badly, but DD was a complete disaster, and I'm glad I didn't get a very big allocation. I didn't request a big one. I was just kind of still thinking, this one will be popular enough to be higher than debut, and was just trying to see if I'd ever get one, really. So I like to reference the Groucho Marx quote that's something like, I would never want to be a part of any club that would have me as a member. And that kind of goes for a lot of, especially the mainstream IPOs. If there's enough shares left over after they've sold it to all the fat cats and hedge funds and institutional bankers that they want to give me some shares of a mainstream IPO, I probably don't really want it to begin with. That means that there was not very much demand in the smart money or big money, and they had so many shares left over that they'd even be willing to give them to me. We did see some of the low float IPOs where we get where they're either on Click IPO or offered through Webull. We will get allocations of those and see a premium. And those are interesting opportunities. You're not going to get super rich off those because they're not going to give you thousands of shares, but you can make a couple $100 on a good one. Okay, people asking what happened to Pets. Well, Pets was one that we called out way back in September 30th when Bosted first did the direct offering. Everything looked funny about that one, so I said, okay, well, screw it, buy it. I bought it, waited a month, and then it blew up on the second. They did another offering, and it went from like $1.20, $1.30, all the way up to $8. So we saw this with a lot of the. We've seen this with other kind of Chinese scammy IPO, post IPOs. We saw it with EJH, we saw it with TIRX, we saw it with dogs. We see them kind of like blow up and then just fall off a cliff. And my theory is that there's a game going on when they're pushing it up, and then when the game is over, they just dump it for whatever they can. Shorts pick up on it, they join the party, and there's just there's no sign of any there's no sign of an upside move when shorts are attacking it. GSUN and MULG. MULG is somewhat of an uplisting. We've been waiting for that one for a while. That one has a crazy ask price on E-Trade if you go put in an order there for it. GSUN, we see some updates now and then, but it looks like Chinese IPOs have been on hold. So I believe we might see some start to come around at some point here in the next month or so. I will be interested in especially the the first ones that look like stealth IPOs to come out the gate will, if you can catch that one, whichever one it is, that will be probably a good opportunity once once the market is paying attention to them again. They get overbought on the debut, and that just, I mean, we saw by the time JZXN debuted at like, it was a $5 IPO that debuted at 40, jumped to 45, and then just fell out of the sky. So the trick with the stealth IPOs is, and the theory behind them is that they're not really wanting us, retail traders, to key into it until it starts trading, and then they can rip it into a bunch of halts. The last one that we really saw was SOPA. And that one kind of got away from me because they turned off the indication price before it went live. And let's see, pull up the NOI on Webull. The thing about Webull, yeah, it shows it on the mobile charts, on the mobile app. I'm not sure, and I'm going to check it, but what is it? TPG. So it doesn't show it on the desktop app or on the desktop view of the. So if I'm gonna pull up a detached window, show everything. TPG. So you see, here it is on the. This is just if I go to not the app, but the website, app.webull.com, and I pull up TPG. It doesn't give me that data. My phone, it does show this crossing here, the IPO crossing, and I can put the crossing and the level 2 data side by side, which the level 2 data only helps so much, but I do like seeing this crossing. Refinitiv, yeah, appreciate what you do. Never trade IPOs while learning. Yeah, IPO trading can be really lucrative. I mean, I've gone from, full disclosure, I lost a ton of money on a very ill-advised setup on SIDU, SIDU last month. I honestly think I was just sleep deprived and not thinking. There's no way in a good state of mind that I would have made that trade. But even with the 6-figure loss on one trade, I am up from about $40,000 in May 2020, which is when my daughter was born, and I started this kind of really implementing the strategy, to well over 300,000 in that time, and I made it up to over $500,000. And then some of the stocks pulled back, and I had that kind of car wreck on CDU. But I've had I've had a bunch of 5-figure wins on IPO trading, and what I really try to do is pick the ones that you're really convinced are going to be pick the ones that are really going to be strong plays, the ones where the setup is good, everybody's talking about them, they give you a reasonable price. I mean, the ones that I liked the most were, Lemonade was a good one of the first ones I picked off. NCNO was a good one. The first one I really hit out of the ballpark was Big Commerce. Then some of the others that did well, Snowflake was a big one, especially on the initial run up. And then you're going to miss some that were really good opportunities just because you didn't pick the movement the right way. Unity could have been, if I had held on a little, it dipped on day one and then ran hard on day two and beyond. AI dipped on day one and then ran hard for a couple of days and sold out on the rebound for a small win and could have held on longer. But some of these stealth IPOs TIRX, I made over 30 grand on that one. Some of the others that did really well were, I think, CPOP, eBet. Um, there have been quite a few. So, you keep stacking the wins, and then figure out how to avoid those losses or keep the losses to a minimum. And you start looking back on your performance gains, and you're just kind of like, wow, that's incredible. I mean, I changed my financial situation, uh, with IPO trading. So it does work. I'm not sure that this first, the next month or two are going to be great setups for IPO trading, at least not on the mainstream ones. I do expect that we're going to get some Chinese stealth IPOs. I do expect that we're going to get some that give us pretty good opportunities to take some winners. But yeah, up five. Yeah, if I'm up five figures, that's a good time to sell. Um, FOUR. I forget which one that one was. Yeah, there were quite a few really good plays, and some of them might have taken a little bit longer, but a lot of these become sort of what I like about the whole process is that the research really gets you into understanding a stock from day one. MITQ was a good one, yeah. I missed that one because I didn't have the debut price. I think that was an Amex listing. Um, Imbalance dropping down. Okay, so I like that we've held 32 here. We've got more sellers coming in. So if we think about that, just jump back up. So we have sellers coming up to meet the buyers. Try to think about these things. Supply and demand. What does that mean? It means that the supply is increasing, while the demand is. We're at 2 million. We're at 2 million shares here. Bird was good. I keep my notebook and I got my list here. There were there were a lot of really good plays. Portillo's was a good one. SDIG was pretty good. UDMI worked out. ESMT worked out, stayed out of some of these. FRSH worked out. HLTH was a really good one. Forge was a good one. Bros, I missed that one by about 50 cents trying to be cute and undercutting it. That one would have been a huge one. Kopeng was really one of the only ones that absolutely came out of nowhere and just sucked. XMTR was a good one. Hood, if you held on to it. Rivian, okay, New was not good. The float was way too high. Rivian, I took a win earlier in that day and decided to go to the gym knowing that Rivian was going to run out of the gate for about 20 to 30 minutes, then reverse down. And then I didn't really know where it would go from there. So I had taken a win on Expensify earlier in the morning that day. It had a lower float. It was kind of in that fintechy, profitable, or with strong financials and growth. It was just a pretty easy win to take. So I took a good win on Expensify and then felt like, okay, I need to go take care of some other stuff in my life. And watched Rivian and nearly bought in on the dip when it dipped down below 100 and then went down to like 95. I was kind of like, all right, well, this is going to get the day two media coverage to bring this back up. But for some reason decided to let it go. Sometimes you got to focus on life, and IPO trading, as you can see, it's sort of like a day-long event, which is fun. We've had some that, like Doximity, that was a really good one and had everything. Had everything. E-Trade give you 12,000 shares. Really? That's one of the biggest allocations I've ever heard of E-Trade giving. But they had so many shares, so it doesn't particularly surprise me. Yeah, Rivian was, we've seen this with the super hyped up high float debuts. It was a direct listing, but Coinbase was similar. Coinbase ended up, in some ways, was like it opened at 380 and then ran to 430. So as long as you kept like a trailing stop loss in and accepted that this was going to bomb at some point, you made a pretty good profit. So I kind of split my order in half and sold half. I think I sold a quarter at 400, a quarter at 420, and held the rest thinking we'd get like a day two media rebound, and we did not. That ended up kind of turning a little bit of a disaster. So reading through some of these, what about CFSB? Okay, so that should be pricing now. So let's go check that out. CFSB. All right, we are getting a sell side imbalance of 989. So this has a small float. It's pricing below the IPO right now. I just don't think it moves much further out of like 9 to 11 maybe. So I don't consider myself to be a great day trader. I don't particularly see, when I see a sell side imbalance, and this is going to trade very thinly, I think, after the first 10 minutes or so. So that's another reason I don't like these Bancorp ones. There's nothing sexy about. I mean, the underwriter is kind of ho hum. Piper Sandler is, I think, relatively sort of straight edge. We haven't seen them do any. I can't recall any big sort of high manipulation ones that they've done. Am I a little blurry? Should check that a little bit. Okay, now you can see all my wrinkles and blemishes. No, I'm out of focus. Okay. Great thing about, thanks to everybody who put in, made a contribution to the IPO Warrior streaming equipment fund, including Benzinga, and some of you who are likely in the chat right now. You know who you are. I'm going to chat over to my group real quick. Got the sweet new lens. It lets in a ton of light. It has a very shallow depth of field, so I can go out of focus very quickly. I kind of got to stay in the sweet spot here. But yeah, Piper does seem to do a lot of bank deals. They're pretty, in my opinion, on the up and up, which, good for them, but not good for volatility. I think they kind of price these fairly. If you know anything about banking, I mean, I guess banking supposedly is where, you should be looking during inflation and bond stuff. But that's not how I play. I'm looking for volatility. I don't really want to be in these positions all that long. I like to get in and out. I like to be liquid. I like to park my, when I'm parking funds in something, it's going to be either, something that I think like IINN, where I'm just like, all right, I'll just leave it there, keep buying the dip until we get the next headline, and it's low float. I believe in the product and the team, and I think it'll blow up. And those kind of plays have worked out really well for me. I understand all the technicals about it, but and maybe it's boring. Another one that I like to park my money into is anytime QYLD dips down below 22, and it's right down there now. Anytime it makes a dip below that, I'll buy a few more, 100 shares. It's got a 1% yield per month, which is pretty amazing. It's just a covered call ETF. It's pretty much shown that it can lock itself into the $21.50 to $23 range in terms of the share price. And, the leverage on E-Trade is 40%. So, you're borrowing money at like 6% and you're getting the yield at 12%. So as long as you don't buy up, buy it up real high and then have it crash on you and put yourself in a margin call or something. Um, Super chat. Yeah, I should set that up because someday in the not so distant future, I'm going to need to figure out how to monetize what I'm doing. And as much as I appreciate the donations and contributions that people are making, in fact, let me just give me a second to try to figure this out now. Let me see where we're at up here. We are still a long ways away from TPG going live. So the path forward for IPO Warriors, I mean, this all started as a Reddit thread back in, I think it was August 2020. And I just put it out there. Hey, I've been making money on this strategy. What do you people think about it? And I got a couple hundred upvotes since then, which, to me was like, whoa, I don't think I'd ever got more than like 4 or 5. And a lot of direct messages asking me, oh, how do you see the indication price? When do IPOs open? Have you heard about this one coming up? And rather than just kind of answering everybody one by one, I set up IPO Warriors Reddit thread, and people joined in and we started kind of talking. And then after that, it was you can make donations either to, let me send you the Fundly link. Fundly, I think this still works. Yeah. All right, we got the Rocket Man, the lawnmower here. Some of us have been here in like over a year, I'm sure. So there's the link for, I guess I really need to update some things in the YouTube channel. Need to get my referral links in here. I need to get my donation links in here. So, been involved in the IPO market for 33 years. All right. Yeah, no, I mean, we've definitely been getting some bigger money people. It feels really weird for me to be asked questions or even having conversations with people who have who are operating at a much higher financial level than I am, reaching out to me to just say, hey, like what you're doing, or even to be sharing thoughts with me. I feel humbled by that, and every time the market crashes. But yeah, we've come a long way. I definitely feel like I've gotten a better handle on this. There is a moment in anything. I remember I started surfing kind of late relative to surfers. I was about 17, 18 when I started surfing. And there was a point when, about a few years later, when I realized that I wasn't the beginner anymore. And I took kind of like a weekend job working in a surf shop, and started telling people, oh well, the rocker and the rails and the glass and the finish are like this. And there becomes a moment where you become sort of a no longer a novice, no longer just intermediate, but where you're actually knowledgeable on something to the extent where you're answering other people's questions. That's it's a weird feeling. And I do realize that I still feel like I'm very early in establishing my strategies, establishing my expertise, my knowledge. But I do believe, and I know that I'm bringing value to people, and I hope that people continue to bring value to me through this community. I've always seen it as a community experience, but I want to take this further. I see that there is an interest in these IPOs, not just for live trading them, but for understanding these companies from the moment that they debut. You really do gain, I would say, a better understanding of the marketplace when you know a bunch of stocks from the moment that they've debuted. And now, having played, watched, traded, hundreds of these, I look back on the market, and a lot of the stocks that are making headlines, that people that are leading the discussions, are stocks that we played the IPO right here. Not on the YouTube channel, of course, but that we discussed in the Reddit thread, on Twitter, in direct messages with me. So having that sort of, I mean, understanding the, not only being able to look back in the historical chart and say, okay, well, this was up there, it was that, you have more of a context to apply to that chart. You can say, oh yeah, no, I remember when Roblox ran up to 140. That was because they had impressive earnings. Facebook changed their name to Meta. There was all this hype around the metaverse, and that's what jumped them up to 140. Rather than looking, when you look back on charts, especially if you try to do any kind of technical analysis, it misses, it misses out on that context if you don't understand the history of what caused those spikes and those runs. And you can remember, oh, well, the market was really hot back then. That's why those stocks, that stock jumped up. So I like, all right, so we've got CFSB. Looks like it's open. All right, it opened and it's moved up a little bit here. Low float can raise the boat. Did we get a halt there? No. It's just not moving. Or is this just one of those things where the desktop app is not really showing things? Okay, it's moving up. We had a debut at 10. When we have low float, we often see things go up. Got to kind of like this here when you see these asks get, nobody's selling, more people buying, but not a lot of volatility here. This isn't like jumping up and down like we often see with the, with an IPO debut. Let me turn on the volume indicator here. That's another thing I want to look at when I'm trading these. Volume. Okay, so we saw, I'm not getting stats here. This is where some, maybe my, oh, here we go. So we had about 40,000 shares trade on the opening print, the opening minute. Then we came down here and we've got less than 10,000. We're already down to pretty small numbers. You can see the spread is almost 10 cents on a $10 stock. We've got a pretty big ask order here. I mean, when you didn't have 10,000 shares trade in the second minute, and you've got a 10,000 share ask sitting here at 1024, 50 shares. This is just not going to do a whole lot from here. The float on this one, I think, was 2.5 million shares. I saw that correctly. Give me a second. The float 2.8 million shares. So this is really not a trade that I'd want to be in. I don't see a lot of movement. I don't see a lot of volume. That's kind of what I said after the first. I said 10 minutes. It was more like 2 minutes. Maybe it breaks out. Maybe day traders decide, screw it, low float. We can do something with this. But my conviction on this is not high. It's already come down. Would have been a pretty tough trade to make even at 10. You have to remember that when you see these big spreads like this, your stop loss can have a lot of slippage in it. Stop losses on low float IPOs, especially in the opening minutes, might not really give you the protection that you're hoping for. We see halts. We see big spreads. If the next order is way below your stop loss, you can get stopped out at a pretty bad. What's the float? As in, what does the float mean? The float is the total number of shares available for trading. Basically, think of that as supply, or one element of supply. So when we have a stock like TPG, which is a mainstream IPO, we're going to have a float, north of 30 million shares. I kind of put to me, the median standard IPO is about 30 to 35 million shares. If it's higher than that, significantly higher than that, I'm calling it a high float IPO. and those need to be really big names for them to get a lot of volatility. One of the things that I did not like about New Bank, was they had something like 300 million shares, 200 something million shares in the float. And when you have that many shares, that's what I didn't like about DD. Um, a lot of these, Rivian, even to me, I think was 70. No, what was Rivian's float? Rivian had a high float too, which was kind of what scared me away from, or made me just say, I don't know. When you have a high float, it's 135 million shares on Rivian. Whereas when we have others like Expensify was 9.7 million shares, Backblaze was 6.25 million shares, Sweetgreen was 12.5 million shares, uh, Braze was 8 million shares. So when we see these floats like below 15 million for a recognizable name, I like that, because that means that if it's really hot, there's only so many shares to go around. And once that low float kind of kicks in, these can really run. And we saw that last week with Hour, which has kind of popped and dropped again today. But these low float plays, they become a target of their own. Day traders sort of gravitate towards them, especially after there's often a halt within the first, or multiple halts within the opening trading minutes. And once those halts show up, there's a lot of screeners and a lot of day traders who will key in on that halt. They show up, they pump it up. FGI was slated for today. It's been rescheduled for next week. There's nothing particularly interesting about it as a company. They buy and sell sink and bathroom, hardware. And, any tie to China is always a bit of a, eyebrow raiser, because so many of those low float Chinese ties have the, have run. But FGI has 2.5 million float. People are definitely looking at that just as a low float IPO. Low float IPOs, except for maybe the biotechs. Hills yesterday was an example of a biotech that did not, kind of gave you a little opportunity for an upside. But we haven't seen the IPOs that are biotech low float run for a while. The play on those tends to be let it fade out for a few days. Maybe pick up a bottom if it's a $5 IPO or a $4 IPO, wait for it to fall down to below 3, maybe pick some up at that point and then wait for it. We saw that with NXGL yesterday, finally ran after IPOing about 2 weeks ago. I've been watching NRSN, but I don't think we're going to see too much of them out of them for a while. But NRSN, I can bring that over. I need multiple windows here. Sorry. Okay, NRSN, it's like, they've got Alzheimer's and ALS drugs, and they went on a bit of a spike yesterday, I guess. But they're down at like 260. And if you buy some down at 260, 250, 260, just hold on to it. Their quiet period will expire. They have some presentations in March, and all it takes is any kind of positive headline for I guess that one, the float's a little bit higher now. I guess some warrants probably got exercised, but any of these low float biotechs that catch a headline, especially a recent IPO, they'll fly pretty hard. So I look for those. All right, we've got the buy side. This is coming up a little bit, 32.22. Now you say, well, Matt, you didn't like it at 32. Why do you like it at 32.22? And the reason is, now that I'm seeing a little bit more demand show up, I'm interested in this. We see a buy side imbalance, 4,000 shares imbalance. I'm not going to go for a huge trade here, but I am going to say, why not? Okay, we've got a big seller. This guy's shares have already been accounted for at a 32 entry. Up above that, we've got 33. There's not a lot of other stuff being traded in the market right now that's not kind of being sold. So maybe day traders are looking for some volume. They're looking for some, some momentum. I don't think they're going to hold a long time, but let's give this one a shot. So I'm going in with my limit order at 32.55. Just don't want to get left behind. I have two rules. Oh, wait. 100 and 32.55. I have two rules that I live by, just to keep it ultra simple for myself. My rules are take profits without regret. That is the most important one just for my mindset. And my mindset is I don't want to be developing bad habits. And these rules all come from experience. It's so much harder for me to sell after the peak than it is for me to sell before the peak. And for some reason, mentally, it just lingers. It just lingers in my mind for much longer when I fail to have sold at the peak and held too long. Whereas when I sell on the way up, I just kind of like, I'm like, okay, well, I took my profit. I didn't know if it was going to go up or down after that. But almost every time when I sold after the peak, I mentally had made a note in my mind that, wait, this could, this is the peak. And then I feel like I was greedy. And even if if it's going up, maybe it's at 15 and headed to 18, if I sold at 16 on the way up, for some reason that feels better to me. And I like sleep better at night that when I didn't sell at 18 and then it came back down to 16 and I finally like cut out. It's also just harder for me. I mean, once it's gone up and it starts coming back down, I want that reversal. I want that to reverse back up and keep going higher. And I hate you know yeah, no, Harry, you're beating me to rule number two. Rule number two is don't chase, period. Rule number one is more, as I was explaining, is more like for me is if I take profits on a play, just be happy with it. Be happy with having taken the win. Don't without regret. So take profits without regret. That's rule number one. Rule number two is don't chase. Once it's already, if you miss the debut, if you miss the initial spike, the initial halt, don't chase. I hurt myself and then kind of got lucky with the bailout on MYNZ. I was super bullish on that one. It just debuted faster than I had other stuff going on. I work at home. I got a daughter running around. Just got a little distracted and missed the debut. And it did one of those instant halts up. And I was like, damn it, I was going to go pretty big on that. I'd have made maybe, who knows, the amount of shares I was playing may have actually affected the debut price and what happened afterwards. And I said, screw it, I'm going to break rule number two. And I just got creamed. It did, opened up and then dropped. And I ended up bag holding. I mean, sold part of it, add a little bit down below. And then last week it blew up, from 10 to 20. And I made basically broke even on the trade. But yeah, don't trade. Okay, joining me now, Muni. We talked about CISO before. Don't be a pig. Yeah, I will consider adding a rule number three, but rule number three is kind of covered by rule number one, which is take profits without regret. CISO mooning. Okay, we'll go back to CISO for a minute here. It does look like TPG is starting to get a little bit closer to. We're seeing that kind of fine lining. As we start seeing 3203, 3201, but we're down to 5-digit share imbalances on this one. When we start seeing 3-digit, we'll start really paying attention here. Okay, so CISO, you're looking at the chart and saying, oh, it's mooned. You got to look at the volume too. This is a little bit like looking at a stock that's trading in pre-market and saying, oh, I'm up 3% in pre-market. It's like, yeah, well, that's because one guy bought 5 shares at at a premium there. That doesn't mean that the stock is really good. That you could sell your 1,000 shares at that price and bank 3% right now. You do need to look at that level 2 data. So if we look at, okay, I'm going to pull off of CFSB. This is pretty typical to what we see in a bank, any of these bank corps. okay, so maybe you got in at 10 and out at 10.15 or 10.20. Those are, it's hard to even get your trade in that fast. Stop loss when it gapped down here might have ended up hurting you if you tried to put a stop loss. But the volume here, super low. The spread, more than 10 cents. This is not a trade. This is not a fun trade for me to be stuck in. I don't play the bank corps for this reason. But CISO, let's just take a look at this because we have been talking about it in the Reddit thread. And, you look at it and you go, wow, look at that. We're talking about volume of a few thousand shares. We read through the S1, and so this is going back to October. It was a $5 stock. The volume since then has been, so the volume this month has been less than 4,000 shares. Last month was about 10,000 shares. So it's an uplisting right now. It's on OTC. When it does go live, the price is not going to be based on this. It's not going to be all of a sudden a $50 stock. You're $5. This is in the S1. It says that the OTC price has no bearing on the the uplisted price. It is a boasted securities offering. These have been really weird. We saw FCUV was one that they did a few months back. It it went up a little bit going into the uplisting. It went from about $5 up to about $6. I think now in retrospect, it looks like someone was cornering the market, which could be this one. Someone could be just buying up the shares, not caring about the price, just to accumulate whatever float is out there. But these are weird looking. We don't have an order book, but these are not. There's nothing fundamentally based about this. This is some kind of manipulation going on clearly. And with FCUV, we saw it do the uplisting and pretty much trade sideways for the first day. And then on the second day, all of a sudden it just ran like crazy. It went from $5 up to 25 or something like that. And, some of the plays that Bosted's been involved with include CDU, SIDU, but they also include PETs. They include TIRX. They include WNW, which was kind of the original Chinese stealth IPO play. And I can't blame them directly, but I do believe that they are, that the company they keep is there's a lot of connections to China. There's a lot of very odd movement in the share prices of these offerings, and they are tied to CISO. So I put in for an allocation request. I'll definitely be watching it tomorrow. I'm not sure I have time to live stream. I'm open to it. It kind of depends. I want to get back to where are we going with IPO Warriors. I would love to be able to charge for the newsletter, even $5 a month at the level of subscribers we're now getting. Would kind of give me the financial stability to really focus on this. I could do more presentation videos. I could do more content for the website. I could do deeper research. Making courses. Is something that I've talked about with my family. Where I want to go with this has to be, I think, something I discuss with the IPO Warriors community. I don't know if my fear is to make put anything behind a paywall and then start just sort of losing the that community feel. But at some point, I do need to figure out what a reasonable compensation would be, or what those kind of packages are. And I'll probably talk to some of the legacy members of this group to get a sense of that. But really do appreciate what everyone's done to put the streaming kit together. And I think the next step up is to try to do more of these live tradings. Maybe I will live trade the market. There are a lot of people doing that though, and I don't consider myself to be a good day trader. So I don't know what I'm going to do other than just tell you guys what's moving. And you know, if you want to join me buying the dip too early on a lot of plays, that's up to you. And then selling the swing like when I'm barely back in the green. But yeah, $5 for the newsletter. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking somewhere 5.10. Five seems kind of like okay, if you get any value at all, $5 is not really a lot, I would think. $10, I think people might say, I don't know, but there's newsletters people charge $100 for and get paid for, and I'm like, well, that would be quite the windfall. But again, I don't want to be greedy. I do want to try to pay my bills. And well, let me catch up with the chat a little bit here. King of low float IOs. Oh yeah, well, thank you. I don't know. I lost a ton of money on one before, so have done really well. I've also given some back to the community. I guess it's all a big karmic circle sometimes. Thoughts regarding pets. Pets is one that I was on top of from the very beginning. I made a ton of money on selling most of my position when it was up at the top. My feeling at this point is I can't believe I missed the opportunity to sell the rest of it right before I held it through the end of the year because I didn't want to take the tax hit until this year on the last piece. Kind of forgot about it, got caught up I'm actually in Ukraine right now. My wife's Ukrainian, and we have Christmas, the second Christmas, the Orthodox Christmas, on January 7th. And I got caught up in that and just forgot to sell my last piece. So pets dropped hard, and at 70 cents, I said, why not? I'll buy some more. It's such a weird stock because it's clearly being just manipulated like crazy. I'm just going to sit on that position for a while. At some point, I think it gets forgotten about. At some point, it gets manipulated the other way. I'm not on a big enough. I already made so much that whatever I'm down on the last piece doesn't really matter to me. I would also probably say there's better opportunities out in the market right now. Things I like a lot better are some of these longer term potential plays that are way down. I really like this company, Sentinel One. They're a leading cybersecurity company. You buy it down here at like 44, 45. I mean, it made it back up to 50. Anytime the sun comes out on the market, this one will go. They're stealing market share from CrowdStrike. They're really strong. There are better plays than pets. So IINN down here at 320. Just buy it or buy that and hold it for a year. When they get FDA clearance, that'll go up. So pets is interesting, but I don't think it's like the best thing you could put your money into. Do I only live trade IPOs? This is my first live trading stream ever, so I don't really know. And on that note, I need to get some music going because one thing that I do is, hold on, let's see how we get music going. Want to take a slight moment here. All right, we're seeing the buy side. Okay, so one thing that I am involved in that is pretty cool is called thesound.com. And thesound.com is, we're gonna get some music going. Can you guys hear that at all? I'm gonna show you guys this real quick. Can you guys hear this? Is it too loud? Is it playing at all? No? Okay. Maybe we'll have to do that for next time. Give me 1 second because audio file for each guest, hotkeys, layouts, audio, microphone, speaker, echo. I don't know how to add that. Screw it. Okay. I do want to give a little shout out to thesound.com. Thesound.com is a company that I founded with a member of the IPO Warriors community, someone I've known for a long time. And we basically stream, if you stream our music, money is raised to fund dog rescue efforts. We get a tiny little royalty from streaming companies like Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and the proceeds help save dogs. So go to thesound.com and check out our music. I just leave it on playing um, in the background, and it generates a few dollars, a few dollars a week, and it all adds up. So for 2 months, working the nerd team, pen testing, offer. They said they pay him salary, not knowing what he already made. Cyber is the FTATF I buy. So yeah, getting close. 32, 35. It's edging up. I kind of like to see this in IPOs. I like to see the kind of see them edge their way up. I'm gonna boost mine. I want to get in on this one. Go to 33 and wait. Yeah, I'm not doing 333. It's not my limit price. $33, and I'm gonna boost my share count just a little bit. Okay. So I'm gonna go back and check out. Did we go live? No, that's my cancellation. So yeah, it's always interesting. On some of the more volatile ones, we see the imbalance price jump around, and if I'm really trying to make sure I don't miss it and max out my shares, I'm adjusting my orders frantically, and that results in a huge list of emails in my inbox when E-Trade tells me I've changed my order. So I'm just going to check, see what Twitter's saying about this again. Let's just pull this into the half screen. Okay, and let's forget about CISO for a while. The TLDR on CISO is we'll see tomorrow. Definitely interesting. It's not going to debut at 48, or maybe it will. But my guess is something funky is going on there, and it's worth keeping an eye on and likely day trading at some point. So we'll be watching that. Let's see about over here. We got some people talking about TPG. 17 minutes ago. That doesn't seem like it could be the most. Yeah, I guess not too much. Indicated 32, blah, blah, blah. This is just auto stuff. Goes public. So people are aware about IPO president's part, but it will. Goes into pockets of institutes. Should open price, blah, blah, blah. Let's use for. Okay, this guy, IPO Dave, he is a legend in the IPO trading world. When I first started doing this and getting into Twitter, he's someone, I always follow what he says. So this guy is, he said he's kind of retiring, but I'm glad to still see him, active on Twitter. If you were to follow anybody, even don't follow me, follow what this guy says. This guy, I've learned so much from him. I see him as sort of, if this were really a sport, he would be in the Hall of Fame, and I am still kind of a rookie. So follow this guy, IPO Dave. He's money. He kind of showed me the whole laddering technique. Seems to have a very good call on these, understands them inside and out, trades them on a longer time horizon than I do, and wish him all the best luck going forward with whatever he decides to do beyond this. So I'm going to pull Twitter back over here. Not so much buzz about it, but I do believe that, so the market's turned around a bit. Things kind of bottomed out there. Sentinel's turned around, Unity's turned around, Palantir's turned around. So I'm in a little bit of a better mood. Another one I wanted to kind of point out to you guys, I don't like biotech IPOs for the debut. I do like them for kind of swing trades. This one didn't really give me much of a time to react to it, but AMLX was one that I said from last week that I really liked the prospects of, and we can see stocks AMLX. Look at the, say, the 4 hour. That'll give us everything from the IPO. This is very typical of, like, you know, I know so little about biotechs that when one looks strong, it kind of stands out. These guys are already in phase 3 and applying for their marketing, the right to market. They priced the IPO at 19, opened at 21, and pretty much did what all IPOs or biotechs do, and just did the biotech bust move. Um, then the market got cold, and it's down here at 16. I really thought about it. I just didn't know how long I'd be stuck in it, and it topped out at 23 today. So sometimes I need to go back, especially when my other trades are sort of sitting sideways, just to remind myself that I'm not a complete idiot, that sometimes I have good ideas even when I don't trade them. I'd say that when your confidence goes as a trader, it's hard to make money. So when that happens, back off a little bit, go make some smaller trades to build up your confidence, and kind of take your notes, look at things, watch a few that you miss, and instead of regretting them, just use them as tools to say, okay, maybe I do know what I'm doing. I'll show you next gel again. This was one that yesterday was. Let's look at the 5-day on the 5 minutes. Look at this. I said over here, oh yeah, I kind of like this down here, down 260, 280. I wanted it to dip a little bit further. I put in an order for 1,000 shares at 260 and got 96 shares filled right here. God, just missed it yesterday. It ran up here. No, I don't like it after it's already busted up. But yeah, the volume indicator. So what are you talking about? RSI here? This is relative strength indication. I put it on the 14 level. Once it gets over 70, it's overbought, and you kind of start looking for, if I'm in a position here, for example, and I see it jump over RSI, I'm starting to look at, like, this is going to come back down. That's way too overbought. When things start getting down here, down to 30 or below, you can start looking for reversals to the upside, although it's pretty dangerous to try to time that on the way down. It's just, I probably use it more for looking for exits than entries. So volume itself, you want to know what the float is. If the float's 3 million shares, and the volume is, has sold 3 million shares on an IPO, that might be time to actually start thinking about getting out. We've seen a lot of these kind of at the 50% mark start to kind of peak. Volume is demand, or it's just, I'd say, when it's going up, that's demand. When it's going down, that's supply. But when I'm looking at volume, volume is volatility. A lot of people in the marketplace, there's a lot of, should be more volatile. The thing about a lot of biotechs, for example, is that the volume just disappears after the first, half hour of the IPO, and then you're stuck with high spreads, not a lot of movement, and you're trying, it becomes tedious to get out of your position. I can't remember if I ever really made money on a biotech IPO, like on the IPO trade, to the extent that it's almost like the unofficial rule number 3 is just don't play biotech IPOs. All right, could you provide some feedback? Volume indicator versus normal volume bars on the chart. If you clarify that, I can answer your question a little bit better. Huge demand in cybersecurity. Yeah. Another one I like is ARQQ. It was a recent SPAC. They do quantum cybersecurity, quantum cyber. Let me read their. It was one where I owned the SPAC at 10 and sold it way too early on its run up to. No, ARQQ. I sold that when it de-SPACed and then halted up, and I sold it a little bit late after the 3-hour halt, but still made a big win on that, and then just recently bought it again on the dip, about break even on it. But quantum cybersecurity, quantum encryption platform as a service. So I think quantum is the, clearly the next step in computing power. I have some IonQ as well, a little bit underwater there. Had that as a SPAC and sold that again before it peaked, but made a good profit on that. So I thought, long term, I'll just buy it and forget about it for a while. When will TPG really open for buying? We don't know. I mean, it's probably the number one question I get for IPOs is, when is it going to start trading? And we don't know. It's not a, if I were king of the markets and told, I would say, let's change this. This is ridiculous because I want to buy the stock. I don't have all day to wait around, but I guess I do. And here I am. So it starts trading once the share imbalance has been balanced. So that's what we're looking at it right now. Is we're looking at the share imbalance. We're seeing that at the price of $32.50, there are 2.25 million sellers willing to sell, and there are an additional 436,000 buyers looking for shares to buy at $32.50. So in order for that balance to be fulfilled, one of two things has to happen. Either more sellers have to say, okay, well, I'll sell for $32.50, or I guess three things, or more buyers need to say, actually, $32.50 is too much for me to buy, or this price needs to move up. So my guess with a 33.9 million share float is that that this, in my initial prediction with that this would go between 11 and 1 o'clock. History being generally repeated, 1 o'clock, plus or minus 30 minutes is probably more likely. Some ways, the longer this goes, maybe the better. But they're really letting this buy side imbalance build up over here. So for whatever reason, they are reluctant to push the price up, which is the third option. Once they price, if they push the price up a little bit, you should see some buyers go, man, I don't want to spend that much. And some more sellers say, okay, well, at that price, I'm willing to sell. So that's when it goes live. It goes live when it's ready to go live. When do you pick the fruit? Well, when it's ripe. It's not a time thing. You saw me pull up a volume indicator, blah, 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 have the volume bars on the actual chart itself. Yeah, I can turn on the volume once it starts trading. Here we are in the pre-debut, so that's why we are not seeing anything. That's why we're not seeing volume about anything. There's nothing trading yet, so there's no volume. If we bring over the Webull app, we can see something like, let's look at something fun. What's moving today? It's moving, okay. GMVD, whatever that is. GMVD is up 40%. Okay, so here we go. So here we can see the volume bars here. We can also just hover over and see the volume there in the middle there. Blah, 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 blah. This is a low float, 2.5 million shares. There must have been some news. G Medical, blah, 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 blah. Additional purchase for order of 6.5 million COVID-19 tests. So this is just the low float runner of the day. And the way to find these is I keep telling myself to stop trading them, and then I trade them. I'm not in on this one. I was, well behaved today, focused on this. But if we go over to, hold on, let me find it. Okay, so Benzinga Pro has a really, really great screener. And aside from having this news feed where I can punch in the tickers and watch them, it's got this scanner. And I just keep the scanner on change. You can keep it on, and you'll see whatever's running in the morning here. And anything that's already running, rule number 2, don't chase. But if you're really watching this from about, 6:30 a.m., you can kind of catch the news before it, and there is this sort of like 7 o'clock, 7 to 8 move. Okay, this news must have hit right at about 8 o'clock or 7. Anyway, the news hit, the stock popped. Volume is pretty thin. So if you caught this, maybe you actually got this play. You watch the volume come in here, pull back at 320. Anything with super low float is hot these days. And unless it blows up, especially when I don't see a smooth chart in the pre-market, it shows me the market hasn't caught on to this. This might have gotten my attention. I'm never playing these too big, but this is where day traders are, making money. This has room to go. 2.5 million shares, just got a $6 million order, and the market cap now doesn't make any sense, but when it was down here, maybe it does. I don't know. That's the volume right there. You can see the volume per minute. You can check out, different candles. You want to check out the 15-minute candle and gauge volume there. It's a little bit more obvious where the volume spike is, but see RSI start getting up here. This is not where you want to be chasing this one. So we're still sitting at a huge imbalance here. Again, the IPO process starts with the big banks buying and hedge funds buying their positions the day before. Sometimes there's a little bit left over for us retail traders. More often than not on E-Trade, I've gotten 0 allocations. There was a time when I first got sort of approved for these IPOs where I got all excited, stayed up all night. They make you reconfirm the next morning or that late that night. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna get like $30,000 worth of Bumble, and it's gonna debut at 100%. I'm gonna be rich. I got no shares. They pulled out, and ended up being kind of bummed. And then realized after a bunch of other requests that actually we never get anything unless it's garbage. Then the next day, we get up in the morning and we're excited to play an IPO, and I go to that Benzinga app that I showed you, and we see this. So I put in the news feed, the ticker, and I see TPG, and I will see that shares will open for quote at 950. So that's why I want to start watching the share imbalance so I can get a sense of, a lot of times that share imbalance will give us some hints as to what the high and low kind of zones are. I like to see how it moves. If it starts out at 40 and they can't get it and they keep pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down, I start to kind of wonder if they kind of inch it up like this, especially for a NASDAQ listing. I kind of like that, but I don't want to see them get too greedy. Then I start worrying. We saw that with Sweet Greens, and I pulled out of that one. NYSE listings we can see on NYSE.com. It just shows the bid and the ask, and you can go above the ask price, and that'll get you in. So they took Bumble away. I know. Right before that, they had taken I think it was UX. That one was the first one I tried to get an allocation for, and I didn't click the confirm order thing. 32.65. So now we're seeing the price inch up a little bit, the share imbalance getting much tighter. I don't know. I still feel like that 32 sell order, 33, can't see much further down below that on this with this tool. 32.70. I think I'm not going to go above 33. It's climbing up. I don't really love it when it does this, but as long as they don't get too absurd, if we start seeing 34, 35, then I'm definitely out. I'm going to say, like, if I can pull. So now we can, okay, it's going to go live pretty soon, I believe. Now we talk about strategy for once it starts trading. I like to see something, and I'm going to pull up another chart because once it goes live, I don't really like the app as much as I like the website seems to be a split second ahead. Um, Once it goes live, the strategies, I generally am not going to try to sell for a loss on day one. There's just too much of a day two media cycle opportunity for it to rebound, especially something that's a mainstream IPO. Maybe this, I'm not sure this one will get a ton of media coverage, but like anything like, Bumble was a great example. On day two, it kind of rebounded and gave you a nice win opportunity. Unity, AI, so many of these have taken day two to really run. So we are seeing some strong, demand sort of strengthening here. This is not an incredibly high debut premium. You say, oh, well, it priced at $29.50, now it's at $32. That's really nothing. Like I said, Sweetgreen's priced at $28 and debuted at $51. Bumble priced at $36 and debuted at like $76. So this is kind of what I would expect it for a strong company in a cold market. And remember that the original IPO range was, I believe, 28 to 31, and then priced it, or was it? Anyway, this is like barely outside of the original IPO range. So yeah, you're right. It is strong financials. Harry, that's a very good point here. That right now the market wants. These guys have positive baseline financials, so net income, operating profit, and what is it? Blanking. Sorry, I'm trying to do too many things at once here. But they have strong baseline financials across the key three indicators that I always look at. They had really pretty crazy revenue growth, but that was, year over year against one of the most profitable private equity. Oh, did we go live? Gee. See here. No, not yet. I'm getting some other. Hold on. Buy TPG. Canceled. Right. Hold on, I gotta check something. Okay, it's still open. All right, so where was I? Volume coming into pets. Yeah, really. Pets is just, when you look at the level 2 on pets, all I see is huge cell blocks. Oh, it's climbing. And once those cell blocks go away, but you still got. All right, we'll bring pets into play. Pets to me is just sort of a comedy show right now. All right, it's 63. It's climbing off this bottom. We still have these huge cell walls here on level 2 data. If these ever, I don't know where these shares are coming from outside of like naked shorting, or maybe there's just still so much. I guess everybody tried to buy the dip and is now bag holding. The direct offering could still be dumping. Shorts could be pinning this down. At some point, you have to figure that there's no more selling when people are going to buy this back into $1.50 or something. And there's just so many people waiting to sell that moment that I don't know, unless the insiders and shorts get fully squeezed. I'm just sort of putting it away and forgetting about my position until one day someone will be like, oh, it just ripped into a halt up and again. So this could go either way. I don't think it goes a whole lot further down. Even it can't go to zero, right? They could do a reverse split, which would be sort of, okay, whatever. But it's really amazing how much volume traded for this to just keep going down, and you have to assume at some point it goes the other way. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to keep this loaded with TPIG or TPG. So the other thing I like about TPG's chart, or what we've seen in the indication, is that we've seen a steady buy side imbalance. which is generally in alignment with things that go up. Um, when they are when we see the other side of that, when we see a sell side imbalance and they keep having to adjust to meet the down to meet the sell side imbalance, that's generally not what I like to see. So this is good. Don't see a lot of sellers up higher, which I guess is in alignment with what we're seeing over here, is that they're having to, they're trying to bring more sellers into this. And if there's no supply and high demand, prices move up. So that's what we're seeing here. That's what I see anyway. What price am I in at pets right now? About $1. But that's because I did not sell the position that the last piece of my position that I had bought on the initial ran up. I made like about $25,000 on the way up. I had about 7,000, I forget. I had a big position before it ran up. Sold most of it. I covered my cost basis at 8. Then I sold most of the rest of it between 5 and 6, 5 and 6 plus. And then just wasn't paying attention when it crashed. I knew the crash was coming, but wanted to hold into the new year. Got distracted in the first week and didn't sell out. Then just sort of like was just spaced out on Monday and didn't, usually have it up on my screener. Wasn't watching it, was watching other things, and it fell out by the time I was paying attention. It was kind of like at break even. And when it got down to 70, I added, kind of doubled up to bring my position to basically $1. So I'm down, but at the same time, I made so much money before that on my net trade. I'm still up 20 grand or something. So I'm just going to wait on it. It's to me kind of a like just sort of a funny position at this point to watch. I know so much about it just because I was tracking it from September 30th when it first did the direct offering. And now I just feel like I have no idea what's going on anymore. But everyone's talking about it. It's interesting. It's not a normal play. So to me, it's indicative of what we saw with EJH, with TIRX, with a bunch of these other Chinese pumped stocks that just fell out of the sky. This one's a little bit different because it has more meme, and I think there's going to be more short interest on it or short volume on it. And it's generally, whereas EGH and TIRX were more or less ignored, this one has caught the attention of day traders. So the potential for reversal is in there. But like I said, other people ask me, my opinion on it is, go find something better to trade or in this market. Maybe just wait. Right now we're kind of in limbo. If you don't have positions, I don't see this as a great time to do anything except maybe make a list of the stocks you like the most, figure out what you think is a reasonable entry point, and then look for, nibble your way into positions that you want to hold through the end of the year. Do I have any concerns about the company as a whole? About pets? Yeah, they sell Chinese dog food. And I lived in China for 10 years. Nobody in China who has any money wants to buy cheap Chinese dog food. It's a garbage company. So, the other thing about pets right now is it's a day trader stock, and now that it's still the sell walls are just unbelievable on that one. It can only move up so high until shorts either get punched in the face, get bored, move on to something else, or whoever the insiders who are selling their allocations run out of shares to buy or lend or something. But that it's moved up at all today, maybe it's finally starting to reverse and shorts will get out of the way and that'll bring it back up. But I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. Yeah, market's slipping. I think the market's kind of approached VWAP and then they're coming back down. I don't think anybody's trying to be too aggressive right now. We've got a holiday on Monday. I think that we saw that CPI data yesterday, and people were kind of like, "Yeah, that's real high." Maybe it's not worse than we thought, but it's as high as we thought. So kind of see 2 or 3 days of pain after that. Maybe midweek next week, towards the end of the week, we see things come around. I just don't think that there's a whole lot of appetite, for these things. My cutoff point, I don't really want to go above 33 on this, but and I don't usually take stop losses on day one. 33. I mean, we talked about a 10% premium at 29.50. If we do the math there, I think we're already above that. CFSB has come back up, but is trading so thinly that I wouldn't want to touch that. Okay, 29.50 times 1.1. So 32.45 is the 10% level. At 33, I sort of am okay with missing this. I'm not playing with this a big. I'm kind of playing this for the exercise of it. But the I don't think this runs hard in any direction. I do believe we could see a 10% gain. I don't think it'll fall too far below 32. We saw huge buy side imbalances there. So I do like the risk reward on it. It's kind of priced. Maybe it's priced to perfection in this market, and if the market comes up, you'll be in a good position. That's what we've seen a lot of for value. For companies with good value. Both better one of the year. What are your thoughts on the three? Further 30. 35 under 3 under 33. Yeah, I'd say 35 is a pretty good target here. So if I see 35 as a target, I'm usually going to sell out at 34.85, 34.95. Those last kind of 5 to 15 cents aren't going to make a difference on your balance, on your profit level, really, but they might be the difference between getting out or not getting out at a hard number like that. Like large whole numbers and psychological, 35 is a big round number. 30, 35, 40. You kind of got to try to see those before we get to those as exit points. Anytime you see a stock rip, I'm trying to see those as exit points if it's anywhere near my price target. So we got 52 people watching. That's pretty incredible. Appreciate you guys showing up here. Just below, yeah. So 35.30 is 26 pricing. It's a good point. Blackstone announced 133 million. That was a huge float for Blackstone. So at 31 per common unit, yeah. But look at the valuation of Blackstone now. We shall see. But we have seen in cold markets, IPOs for strong companies. One that really struck out to me was Global E, GLBE. The market was kind of soft right then, and they went to, they did their IPO anyway, and opened at like 24.25, moved up a little bit, and then once the market kind of cleaned up, it blew up. It went up over like 80 or something. All right, you guys asked about super likes monetization. As a YouTube partner, you'd be eligible to earn money from your video, get creator support, and more. Blah, blah, blah. I need to meet the criteria. So I have 91 subscribers. I need 1,000. I have 18 public watch hours. I need 4,000. So I am a little bit away from being able to make any money from YouTube, but you guys can make donations over at the Fundly page that goes towards gear subscriptions. I am trying to raise a little bit more money right now for get some video editing software. I want to get a Camtasia license. It's $300. I will use that to put together videos before the IPO. So I do my Benzinga appearance on Mondays at noon. We cover the IPOs of the week to come. Do the newsletter every week. I recap the IPOs from the week before that and review their performance. And then on about Monday or Tuesday, I do the newsletter to preview the IPOs that are coming up. Sometimes midweek, I'll do an update if there's something interesting. Last week, I got the letter out on Thursday because all the IPOs were on Friday. Called out Hour and said stay away from the biotechs. Those were all spot on. Said AMLX was an interesting rebound. Nailed that. Doesn't mean I traded it, but these are valuable resources if you're looking for ideas. And kind of New Year's resolution for myself is write down my ideas and follow my own advice, because more often than not, my advice that I give is spot on, and not following my own advice is my biggest source of my biggest downfall. So you guys don't have to do that. This was Warrior Trading. No, sorry, but welcome to the party here. We are live trading IPOs. Didn't know there was a Warrior Trading. Now I do. It was unintentional. Didn't mean to jump on their bandwagon. So I may go above 33, but not by much. I still see 35 as kind of where I but yeah, I mean, look at the ask. They're not picking up a lot of sellers, which I guess is sort of weird. That the people who are willing to sell at this price, and they're not getting people willing to sell much higher than this. And if they have to go above 33, I don't know. We don't even have any asks set up above 33, which is a little weird considering we have buyers lined up into the 50s. Not that that really means anything. 33.85 is a 15% debut premium. That's not bad for a company that posted. Forget exactly. Sometimes I like to go back and read my own newsletter right before things start trading, because I'll often have said something in my newsletter that I then disregard when trading, and then go, I even said it in my own newsletter. Okay, let's view it in the browser so you guys don't have to see all these other inbox things I have going on. Somebody said something. Okay, let me just do something here. Okay, so what did I say about TPG? I said, here we have the first credible mainstream IPO of the year. The largest managers like Blackstone have seen their share prices fly since the market drop. On the other hand, they've been hit pretty hard since the region's pullback started. So is everything else. TPG brings solid numbers across both gross and base. Revenue up 590% in the 9 months ending. Then again, a lot of things were up that they were probably invested in. Profit up 84%. So those are incredibly strong baseline or top line financials. And then they have a positive cash flow, net income. They have a ton of cash, obviously, but they're operating at at positive cash flow. The market wants that now. I said taking position seems unnecessarily risky. Maybe. Debut below the IPO price. Yeah, we're not going to get that. So what I said on Monday was don't buy the debut, wait for a dip, and then possibly buy. And instead of following my advice, I'm going to buy on the debut, double down if we get a dip, and yeah. Well, that's why I like to read my own words back again to remind myself of what I was thinking before the impulsive side of my brain started making decisions that the rational side of my brain doesn't agree with. Um, but I had another thought that was just start really small. I'm not taking a big position here either way. So I'm going to start with a small order on the debut if it's under 33. If we get a drop down to like 30, I'll double down. And that lets me get out at like, 31, which I think we see at some point here. No, thank you for for reminding me. Actually, yeah, this group, has saved or attempted to save me from myself more than once. Um, and we are kind of in limbo here. I don't know what I read here. The market has again dropped, so that's not necessarily good. Market drops, and this indication price is not moving. It's buying IPOs on cold market days has not generally been a good thing. So let's see when we get a little bit closer to an imbalance. But 32.85. I believe I'm actually going to listen to myself and not buy the debut right now. If it goes up, okay, it could go down $3. It could go down $2.85. It could go down percent just as easily as I believe it could go down $3 more than I believe it could go up $3. Let's put it that way. Yeah, on this one, 10 to 15% might be about right. So I pulled my buy order and the buy side imbalance shrinked. Trust me, mine was not did not have a big impact on the share imbalance in this one. It's just not a great day for for playing anything that's not. I think that day traders are focused on a few low float names, probably already starting to lose their interest. Yeah, GMVD is back down under 4. The other big one, no, just nothing really. I mean, even in the micro cap, nothing really ripping today. No 70, 80, 100% runner. I think people are sitting on their hands right now. And that makes me say, I don't need to, sometimes being less busy is a good thing. But pulling my order, I'll watch this. If we get a dip, maybe try a dip buy. But I want to watch this because it's the first big IPO of the year. And the thing I don't quite understand about level 2 is if this is an ask that is not, I just don't quite understand where this 132,000 shares right here fits into this buy and sell side. I know that Webull doesn't have all of the orders. They have NASDAQ total view, but sometimes I went up, especially on a more like a lower float, thinly traded stock that I'm accumulating, I'll see my order show up. And other times it doesn't show up. So Dow is up 200. No, it's down. How are you seeing this on Webull? This is the Webull desktop app. So they have the website, which I also use because I think it's like a couple seconds ahead, and I'll switch over to this once it actually starts trading. But this does not show you that level 1 and or the level 2 and the Noe crossing. But the desktop app, we do see it. So this was a feature that used to only be on the mobile app. And myself and a few other people, I like to think that our constant pestering of Webull support got them to finally add it to the desktop app. and the desktop app, while a bit buggy, does have this now, which makes live streaming a lot easier, because before I thought I was going to either have to show you my phone like this, or use one of those apps and connect it some, there, I guess there are ways to connect it, but the on the app, so this is the desktop app. You go into the widgets, add a widget, and then it'll show you in the all widgets. Then you can choose the order book or the NOE crossing, NOII. If you're on the mobile phone, mobile phone app, you just go in, put in the ticker, and then you can switch between level 2, and you have to have the subscription for level 2 data, which I think is free for like 3 months and costs $2 a month or something, so it's easily worth it. Level 2 data is really good. I find it to be really good for building and exiting positions, because you can see where the sell walls are, and unless you are trading at a volume where you are the sell wall, you can kind of pin we're going to go live here pretty soon. I think we're still seeing a sell side imbalance as the price creeps up, so I'm tempted to play this. I just don't see I'm playing at such a small position that I wouldn't make a meaningful amount of money, and I would hate to sell for a loss, and then I'd be stuck. And just don't want to be watching for a dip here. On the mobile app, you just put in the ticker, and you should see the crossing there if you have the level 2 data. Crispo selling off. Everything's selling off. People are just, some of it is, as the market crashes, people are extended on margins, have to either, willingly sell out of their positions to stay out of the margin call, or get forced into a margin call, and then their broker might just make that decision for them. So if you're trading on margins, which I do and don't recommend, but I do it all the time, you need to be careful in this market and recognize what positions you are going to unload. What are you going to unload if things get ugly? So I have my ladder of what gets dumped in an extreme situation, and I'm happy to not be too far underwater on those that I would have to bail on if necessary. So NASDAQ is down. Yeah. Well, yes. So the live streaming, my hope had been today that we were going to get 3 IPOs, which is why I said, okay, this will be the day I start. I also feel a bit obligated now that all the equipment finally showed up last weekend that you guys helped me buy, to follow through on my word and say, okay, well, let's live stream. So once I put it out there that I was going to live stream this, I think it would be a pretty bad habit to, start off the live streaming portion of this journey with rescheduling it, just because a couple of the IPOs got pulled. But that light go out. All right, lights are back on. So yeah, I decided that even though we are down from what would have probably been FGI already having debuted maybe 2 hours ago, and JW probably debuting maybe an hour ago, and then to this, which would have made for a much more action-packed day, we are sitting around and playing the one high float IPO that is, as expected, taking quite a while. Do you do PayPal? Sure, you guys can send me PayPal. It's I can just give you my PayPal account. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Hammond1 at hotmail.com. except for VX financials up. Yeah, BX rotation out of BX into TPG. Yeah, very tempted. All right, we're gonna see this go live pretty soon, and you know what? Screw it. I want to play this. Just something small. Just because I hate being left out of the party. Oh man, it's gonna go up over 33. I would be remiss to not live trade my first, not trade my first debut. 33.15. Very small position. Let's try to make $100 here, guys. Get in the game. That's right. You know, to me, these do feel a bit like I'm a pretty big sports fan. I like. I'm from the Bay Area. Big Giants fan, Warriors fan, Niners fan. Ooh, we hit 33 and we got that sell side imbalance. Okay. CFSB up 7 cents. Yeah, if you bought 100,000 shares, you are up $7,000. Nice. This feels like kickoff to me. I was fortunate enough to be a Niners fan in the 90s as a, kind of came into my early teen years while the Niners were the team of the decade. And all those playoff and Super Bowl games, the getting together with friends, sitting around, watching all the pregame stuff, and then that like the anticipation of the kickoff. That's always what this has felt like to me. Ever since I started, like actually just realizing that there was an opportunity in these IPO debuts. And at first, it was pretty lonely, and I was just doing it by myself and sitting on the edge of my seat. And then this, IPO Warriors community started building around it. It became a bit more fun, and I dreamed of live streaming these and just wanted to get the right kind of gear and equipment. And it's fun, and I look forward to doing this in the future. I don't know, today was somewhat unique. My daughter's been taking a nap. My wife's been probably taking a nap too. So wait for the pullback, then buy from the open. I know. I'll wait for the pullback and buy another 100 shares. But I don't. I'm doing this symbolically. I'll lose $100. Okay, I'll make $100. Doesn't matter. I will sell this pretty soon. This keeps climbing up. This. All right. I'm not raising my order again. If it goes past 33.15, I'm canceling. Buy side still with, the buy side keeps creeping up. It just seems like whoever bought the IPO is not wanting to sell. And if that's the case, then this is a little bit unique in terms of, I don't remember the last time we saw a mainstream IPO like this just stay on buy side imbalance for so long. 33.85 is 15%. Yeah, gets the blood pumping. When I've played, docs, and I think I had $100,000 on that one. BBIG, I had every cent of margin I had available on that one. My heart was pumping and not selling out. The first ones I played were LMND and Big Commerce, and LMND and then NCNO, which both ripped pretty hard. But I was so just so anxious, and I had so much on the table that I sold them both, early, but and made nice profits, but not nearly what it could have been. And that's where I sort of got myself, I got those wins, and then I did Big Commerce and nailed that one. And then I kind of screwed myself on Bumble. I got psychologically thrown off by having them pull the allocation request, and then was like, screw it, it's going to go like crazy. That was February 2021. Everything was ripping. And on day 2, when I was way in the green, I was on vacation and decided, no, it's going to keep going higher. And really should have taken those profits, because instead I held onto it for a loss. And that was stupid. And that's when I came up with rule number 1, take profits without regret, because had I just taken profits, my vacation would have been better and I would have not lost money. And I realized that I was reflecting on you know, reflecting on what, fantasies instead of reality of, hey, take some money and move on to the next one. Put your money back in your pocket, be happy with your profits, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Yeah, never let a profit go. Buying the opening with, when you say play, are you buying the opening print with margin? I am using margin. Yeah, I use margin because I'm getting back out of these really quickly, and I don't see this going to like 20. I'm not taking with the big money anyway. I have a pretty big, I pretty dipped into margin, but my QILD position is huge, and I bought it well below 21. So as long as QILD recovers to like 22, I can always sell those, pieces of that position to get out of margin. I'm also in a pretty big position on Palantir down at like $10. So I can take position, peel off positions of that if I need to free up margin. If you're going to use margin, you're playing with a little bit of fire, but I also found that playing with margin is what allowed me to, 10x my account in a year and a half. Not financial advice. None of this is financial advice. But the most I made on an IPO, well, the next question is, oh, here we go. We're live, right? Wait a second. Yep. Okay, and we're dipping. Doop, 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 doop. Crashing, dipping, crashing. This first minute, I just kind of watch it. All right, 33. If we start getting a move up, I'm going to start usually saying, okay, well, all right, so we're kind of holding in there. It's sort of not looking particularly strong. We're not seeing an initial run, but this first minute, we just kind of got to watch and not do anything too dramatic. I'm looking at the level 2 data here. I'm not seeing much support. I'm seeing on the upside, no one really selling till 34. Okay, so it's moving up a little bit. Now I'm looking at this level 2 bid price. If this starts filling in and we start moving up, I'm going to say, okay, I don't want to lose money on this. So I'm going to put a stop loss in if it gets up to, we saw it hit 32 and then rebound. That's not a great thing. Still kind of holding its own here. No big walls either way. It's still trying to find itself. But see that 34, 50,000 shares? I'm going to kind of look at that as an opportunity to sell at 33.95 maybe. I'm not looking to sell for an immediate loss. I'm not going to set, okay, we see some support coming in at 32. We see resistance up at 34. Live at 33. Yeah, I think everybody's in at 33. I'm going to let this go a little bit. It's brand new. That first wall, if it gets up to 34, I think it can go through that. And then we don't see a lot of resistance after that. This is holding pretty nicely for now, but we got a dip below RSI on the open. That's interesting, and it rebounded. So I'm going to let this go a little bit here. I'd love to see those bids fill in a little bit. Okay, there we go. Up with a bid at 2,000 shares at 33, 33.17. So that number that I'm really looking at is that big number, 51,000 at 34. Yeah, Ian, that's right. I call that the undercut play. And what you're really trying to do there is, and that's where I might ladder in a trade. This one might have made sense to ladder in. Once it goes through that, if it goes through this $34 sell wall, okay, now 33.50, people are starting to exit. But I think if we can we're seeing some pretty good movement up. Oh, we got a big buyer there at 33.40. 33.43. We got almost 60,000 shares. He pulled that, or she. We don't know. So, I mean, stop on quote 34. I think, yeah. I'm not going to stick around all day. So if we can get a run to 33.95. I'll take my little win. And okay, so volume is not particularly high right here. I think what I'm going to do is now we're dropping a bit right as I said that. Big buyer to miss spoof order. Yeah, could do. That dip at the open is awesome. DM Man Trader, thank you. I'll look forward to that. Sort of holding its own here. So one of the indicators that I really like on these debut trades is VWAP. If it drops way below VWAP and RSI goes below 30 and then comes back up, that can be a time to re-enter the trade. It's really holding 33 pretty. Okay, now some sellers are starting to get out at 33. In this market, I don't know how long I want to be in this. Got 32.25s, some support there. Okay, bouncing around. It still hasn't really made a run that hard in any direction. I don't know. I think it's about time to. All right, now we're seeing the demand drop a little bit. I think we might see this move down a bit. Have to bounce off that 32.25. Can reverse as quickly as it drops here. Buy it at 20. Yeah, probably not today, but who knows? All right, so once it was up here, I went to go put in a stop loss in at 33.15 and didn't get it in at time. We're still pretty early in this trade. It just went below RSI, came 30 and came back up. So, no reason to panic sell anything yet. If you are playing this on the safe side, you might want to. I don't like to take day one losses. There's just too much potential for recovery. The market's down. The market comes back stronger tomorrow, and all of a sudden you're in the green. This is still VWAP above 31. VWAP's above my entry slightly. It can easily break through and cover that. We see that the sell orders have kind of dissipated. Still can get back up to 34. With any kind of a run here, there's not a lot of volume to chew through there. So you got 75 cents to the downside, $1 to the upside. If you got to be a little bit patient with these sometimes, but we've got the volume. So we've seen 5 million shares sell so far. Here it comes back up. And if they can get a little bit of space up here, we can kind of set that trailing stop loss, which is a trade that I like to see. Bit of a spread here. Limit 33.5. We made it above VWAP. That's a sign of strength here. Not a lot of. It's got to kind of make a significant move up above for me to really have any conviction. But we still don't have a lot of resistance till 34. Let's see where this goes. Da, 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 da. I would say that a lot of times we'll see if we don't see an initial move up, we do see the people who really just wanted to get out of their positions sell off initially. And unless we see a huge tank and people start just, fire sailing this stuff, these tend to have an upward move in them if they're a strong stock. This market is just a bit brutal for anything. Are you asking about interactive brokers? And can you short this today? No. There's generally almost never any shares available to short on an IPO, which is kind of one thing I like about these. There's also no options on them either. So you're pretty much looking at a pure trade setup. There's buyers and sellers, and the number of shares available, we already know. We have to assume that not everyone who just bought the IPO wants to sell it right away. So, if shorting was available on these, I can imagine that some of these would be complete bloodbaths. But we've got VWAP right at 33. They sort of priced this to perfection. Some point you think day traders just get bored and key in on this. And like I said, we don't see any huge walls here. We see support right here, 33.10. This is trading with about as much volatility as that Bancorp stock. Yeah, I don't think you want to short a strong private equity firm that just priced barely above the IPO. The IPO price, in the middle of the range. It's not the downside is not worth the upside risk. Buying it, you can only lose the money you spent on it. Shorting it, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble if this rips. Yeah, KNS Global, thank you for the kudos on these. This is the first IPO, mainstream IPO that's come along. I mean, the first IPO since I got this, all this gear that the IPO Warriors community helped fund. Benzinga helped fund. Didn't play Hills yesterday because it was it's a low float biotech. I just don't like those very much. Might have been an interesting play. It did have some movement, but I had no conviction in it and didn't want to play it. So I thought there was going to be 3 IPOs today, which is why I scheduled the first. This is the inaugural live stream. So if you guys like these, please like, subscribe, share it, get it to other people. If I can get this to a point where I can actually, we talked about how I'm thinking about making the newsletter a paid newsletter, but I got to find some way to, I spend a lot of time on these and can't especially because my trading account, I really don't tap into that for funding my life. I'm a website designer and developer by trade. I just got into this, had a lot of success with it, and found out that a lot of other people are interested in this. So, got to find ways to monetize this. One way to do that is to make this YouTube channel popular. If you guys can retweet my tweets, if you can share this channel, subscribe, do whatever it takes. The more we grow this as a community, the more that I can do this as sort of the, I don't know. I don't really even see myself as a leader of this thing. It's just, I guess I have the time to do this maybe. Okay, RSI, VWAP, Bollinger Bands. I like them. I don't read them very well. And I don't have them on right now. I like RSI. I like VWAP. And then volume. Those are kind of what I know how to read pretty well. I think VWAP is really the most important one, especially for this one hasn't moved a lot and it doesn't seem to want to go above VWAP. I don't know if this is just smart money saying, well, I don't want to buy above VWAP, but I want to buy this. We haven't actually seen much volatility on this at all. We've seen it move $1 from top to bottom, which is a little bit surprising, except that, the float really is pretty low. Or sorry, the float is really high. And even the volume on this, 5 million shares for 10 minutes of trading is pretty small for an IPO. We've seen low float IPOs. We've seen 5 million share. We've even seen what did if I go back and look at our last week, I think it traded 5 million shares in the first 10 minutes, and that was a 1.5, I don't know, something close to that. That was a low float IPO. But this has done the, kind of ran up a little bit, not a huge opportunity, not even enough to really get in a trailing stop. Down, now it's kind of up, trailing VWAP. We still haven't seen a real run in either direction, and I like this name. I want to like it, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen something kind of come in and push this one way or another. It would surprise me if we didn't see, anything, if we didn't see a dollar, a move $1 up or down from 33, if it just traded in range all day. For a yeah, you're right. For a major financial institution, this is a pretty low float. But in terms of actual shares and volume traded, maybe it's just the market. It might just be the market conditions, and it just needs a day to, or into next week, and we see this go up. That wouldn't surprise me at all. That's what I said before this was even on the calendar, that, okay, the first major IPO we see, I bet we get a really fair price, and it could just be here we go, a little bit of movement. Expecting / hoping there's that 34 level. I don't know if that's sort of spooking people from holding much higher. If that's just one buyer, if that's just a big round number. But we don't see anyone trying to undercut it really. But I'd say if we get to that, we'll see that number change a bit. But we do see the sellers seem to be spent, and more people are moving into this. I'll be playing VDNT. Zero emissions. Yeah, these low float and a green energy would be pretty nice right now. Low float non-biotech has been pretty good, as long as that's why I think FGI might have been a fun one today. I'm not sure what they decided to push it back for. Market conditions tend to be less of a concern for low float IPOs that are always a bit gimmicky to begin with. So now we're seeing over here 33.15. There's a little bit of a wall there. People trying to undercut that, but it does kind of getting chewed away at. Almost to a point where if you're feeling a little bit squeamish, you could set your put a stop loss in like 33.15 here, and then raise it up. But we're not seeing any. We don't see. Okay, the sell walls are falling. 33.50. That person pulled theirs. If we can get to 34 and break through that, this could really go on a pretty nice run. But if we do get to 34, you got to expect that to bounce down a little bit. If you're a fast acting day trader and you're already in this, maybe get out before that and then rebuy in at like 33, 30 or 33 and a half, 33.60. For me, if I could take $100 or $90, whatever, on this trade, call it a win. And it's nothing substantial. It's not going to make my my wall of fame or wall of shame either anyway. But yeah, trying to make this fun for everybody. Trying to make. I always saw these as like the first time I traded them. I looked for other people who were live trading. I didn't find anybody, and I kind of couldn't believe that this is. I mean, given how important IPOs are to the market, the closest thing we have is some coverage on CNBC. Ringing the bell, but why aren't people? Why isn't the? I mean, if you're having fun, hit the like button, subscribe, tell other people about it. But I want to make these an event. I like. I want to get some some theme music going. I want to get some recordings. I can imagine that going into the debut. I know in my head, not even in my head, I've sat there on my desk, going IPO, 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 and who knows? Maybe I'll get some like war paint out and do the IPO Warriors face paint on some big IPOs. But all right, John and Jerry, about to pump it. All right, we're going to 34, I believe. This looks like it's finally running. So if we hit that 34, I will be taking my, my 95-cent profit. This is definitely going to 34, right? Come on, hit 33.95. Get me out. Get me out. Nope. No, 33.90. That's why 33.85 would have been the safe one, but I still think we're not done here. Yeah, we have seen some with names. I remember, I think it was Wolf Therapeutics, Werewolf Therapeutics or something was Wolf, and that had a super low float, and that was enough to make it interesting to people. D-Nut as for, was it Dunkin' Donuts or was it Krispy Kreme? Sometimes the Woof, I think, was another one. Sometimes the ticker is like entertaining enough on its own, but yeah, there is often if you watch CNBC Live, there is a correlation. It seems to me like somebody talks about a ticker, Dutch Brothers, yesterday. As soon as somebody says, "Oh, I like Dutch Brothers," like goes on a little run. They don't seem to sustain themselves too long, but it's there is I see the correlation there. Okay, that 34 is just hovering up there. They just keep I think everybody sees that, so we got a little bit of a flag here underneath that, but those big sell walls and buy walls often act as magnets. So on one hand, you want to position your trade kind of around that. The other hand, it's going to man, we are 1 cent from me getting out of this at there we go. All right. So I have sold out for a 95-cent win on 100 shares, and happy to have made a tiny little bit of money. So yeah, incrementally, it's not a lot of money, but you play this, once I get things back into where I'm playing with these with 500 and 1,000 shares, it's nice to know that I'm picking some winners and getting in on them. If you laddered down on this trade, you probably did pretty well. Laddering down on something like this would have felt pretty safe between 33 and 32. We saw in the it hit 34. There was that bounce. I told you about it. I said it'll hit 34 or just under 34 really, and then swung back down. I think it rebounds, but I'm not going to try to jump back in. The algo trades the news and anything positive. So I don't see the high frequency traders can scan all the media beat us to the market. That is true. Yeah, I think that the way you have to do it on CNBC is to listen to who is coming up. I don't know if the algos pick up on that as much as they definitely seem to pick up on what somebody starts talking about it. But yeah, I don't see this 34. So we're seeing volume here in let's check this volume. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing, what are we seeing? Yeah, 100, 300, total volume, 6 million. Yeah, we saw a reversal off as it approached 34. That was expected. This is where you're watching VWAP. If it touches VWAP and you like where it's going, it's definitely like the right look to the start. Didn't touch anything on that $34 sell wall though, so Um, that is still looming off in the distance. But one trade I really like, especially if you're sort of new to IPO trading, is once you get to that breakout like this one, is to set a stop loss, 50 cents below, and just bring it up with it with this. When you get stopped out, okay, you didn't take a loss, you took a win. If you just kept it, really safe to protect yourself from taking, turning a win into a loss, maybe you just kept it at like 33.15 or even at 33.05. I wouldn't put it right at 33 because of slippage, but you can kind of sit back with your hands behind your head at this point and say, okay, well, I'm not going to lose money on this trade, probably, unless it really just somebody decides to sell 100,000 shares and nobody's buying. And now you're in a winning position. Congratulations, good job. No halt. Oh yeah, no. I mean, we rarely see halts on anything with this kind of a float. Pets moving a little bit. Okay. Wake me up when pets is over $1. I don't even want to think about it till then. Or they do like some stupid reverse split or something like that. Pets will have its day. Just give it some time. This could break 34. I mean, we often see the first shelf get broken and the second shelf get rejected. So if I say this is the first shelf at 34, then I think that we break through this. If halts, I want to come back to what Ian said. No halt today. Yeah, I would say there's no halt. Usually, halts are something we're going to see in the opening minutes of a low float like IPO. So this has 33.9 million shares. There's just the spread isn't going to be crazy like that, and the volume in any has already like peaked in the first minute. So we're not going to see halts on high float IPOs unless there's something like Snowflake. Snowflake was so hyped and had so much attention that that one priced at 120, debuted at 245, and then ran up into a halt at like 278, as I remember it. Then ran up as high as like 320, and that just had everybody in on it. That was a big win for me. But then it crashed all the way back down to like 235, then came back up to 270. So high float IPOs generally have to have so much. Everyone and their grandmother has to be buying the debut for a high float IPO to halt. The low floaters, those almost always halt. PLN call out. Yep, thanks. PLN. That's funny. Yeah, actually, PLN and Pets both popped after I mentioned them on Benzinga, and I am not so arrogant as to think that I can move the markets. Although I clearly, on a low float IPO debut, can do something if I put enough spend. I think that I don't even want to talk about it. It hurts too much. Yeah, that I have any influence at all shocks me, and I don't want to ruin the IPO trade by, especially the low float ones. It's another reason why I'm wondering if maybe the newsletter should be premium, because it seems to me that some of these low float IPOs, that IPO Warriors, the trading group itself, has accounted for more of the debut float than was healthy for the trade. Yeah, PLN was interesting, and it was in the same boat. That was another boast. Maybe that one wasn't boasted. It was another weird Chinese garbage company doing a share offering, though. Pets is climbing back up. Yeah, man, maybe now it reverses. I had a theory that the underwriters could be trapping shorts at one point. I didn't think they would dump it before they did that, if that was the case. But at some point, I think Pets comes back up above $1. Let us. Why don't we talk about Sea-Doo? Because I lost $100,000 on that trade, and I hadn't slept for days. I was completely stressed out. My dad had just gotten out of the hospital. I said I wasn't going to trade it at all. Then said I wasn't going to trade it above 15. Then I bought. I don't know. I absolutely should not have played that and decided instead to play it with a huge amount of money and got completely demolished on it. So that's why I don't like to talk about it. Thanks, Dan. How do I ban people? No, just kidding. No, I try to be transparent. I'm, not such an arrogant, proud guy on my in reality that I can't share my losses. I will learn almost nothing from my wins, and that was like paying for two 4-year degrees in one trade. So I better have learned something, and I'm happy to share it with you guys. Yeah, well, touched a nerve. It's okay. Actually, in some weird ways, not weird ways, I do appreciate the IPO Warriors community as a bit of a support group as well. All right, so now we've seen a huge sell wall lineup right here at 3360, and that makes me say, so they're fighting it out at 3360. If you're still in this, you really might want to think about locking in a stop loss at like 3350. Take your 50-cent win if it can't break through this. If not, if it doesn't, okay, you took a non-loss. You actually took a little win. If it does break through this, you can raise it. These sell walls, they do act as magnets sometimes. So I don't know, but clearly some people some of these traders are starting to look for the exits. So again, I'm looking at RSI. Okay, RSI is above 70 here. That turned out to be the peak. RSI at 70, clearly way above VWAP, hitting that big number of 34. Called the reversal. It did manage to bounce back, but has not really made it up there. If you're a chart reader, maybe you're saying, okay, well, this is a pennant here. We've got, I guess I can draw some trend lines. No? Okay, so we've got one line here. Got another line here. So is this a pennant? Maybe, I mean, up here is like, where's that box? Rectangle, okay. Okay, so here's kind of your pennant forming right here. Am I doing that right? Does it break out? Yeah, maybe. Okay, so that big ass sell order, sorry, trying to keep things PG here. That big sell order got beaten or pulled, and now we're still looking at 34. So 34 is the top line that I'm looking at here. We do expect it to kind of break out one way or another from here. And I believe we haven't seen the end of this rally. I believe that starting to kind of come out of that pennant, and I am not a chart reader, so absolutely, if someone else wants to take over and tell us if this is bullish or bearish, go for it. Otherwise, I'm saying bullish. 34 falls. You got to, I mean, if you bought the debut here, you're sitting in a pretty nice position. If you put that trailing stop in, I think you're still alive. That breakout filling in here, if you're kind of ready to take profits, this is where I might raise my stop loss, 3360. You're right around here. If it corrects back down again, you're kind of like, all right, take your wins without regret. If you feel like 34, you don't want to test that double top possibility. 33.95 limit order gets you out for that, basically a dollar win. But I see 34 falling. Justin R says it's a flag. Justin, I believe we called that correctly. Here we go. 34 falls. Now we're going. Let's see this run. Come on. Jump. Say jump. We say how high. Ooh, 34. The sell wall is gone. The mental wall remains. Buyers filling in. Sellers getting. Buyers getting cold feet. Still, we got like pretty safe resistance. Nobody jumping in, but people saying, okay, I'll take a dip off the 34. Still some sellers saying, nah, okay, if you're not going to run off 34, I'll take it. Sellers starting to leapfrog each other up here. That's a good sign for a push. I think we could see a breakout here. Write an ebook. Yeah. So I did a 20 page guide to trading IPOs and been giving it away when you sign up for the newsletter. I've been thinking a course, doing some videos, showing how to live trade these. Those have seen courses that I think I could do a better job of selling for $500, things like that. I don't know if I could. I have a hard time like thinking that this stuff is worth that much money until people tell me how much they've made off my trades, trading ideas. I think of some kind of like subscription package. I think something where, you know, maybe a combination of newsletter, access to these streams. I know other guys put like a paywall. Basically, you can watch the video for free, but you can't comment unless you pay. I don't know how much people really care to comment on that. But so far, I've just been asking for, asking for donations. So you can contribute. Maybe I should put that up on this. How do you do things like banners? Copyright, subtitles, comments, analytics, playlists, content, channel content, dashboard content. Oh yeah. Put out the best, charges $2,000 a month. Yeah, what do they do? Yeah, I've seen some kind of janky sites that seem to have subscription bases. I floated the idea of charging $5 a month or $10 a month for the newsletter. Seems like $5 a month would be almost a non-thought for people, and have about 1,000 subscribers, 300 or so that actively seem to open and read it. Or sorry, about 300 or 400 that actively read it every month. Maybe it's more than that now. But monetizing, some kind of package seems to be. And then also, I do plan to, the marketing flywheel, that kind of stuff I'm pretty knowledgeable of from my web design and marketing experience. So growing the user base, actually, sorry, I'm going to skip out of that. No, I use Webull more for charting, really. I trade with eTrade. Webull, I do love their interface. I just never trusted putting the kind of money that I have in my eTrade account into a Chinese-based company. So Webull is based out of China. They do have offices in America, but you are in a Chinese. You're putting your money in China, as far as I understand. Fair regulations, everything else should be safe. But the idea of putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into a Webull account seems. I started with my Webull account. I think I put about 4,000 in it, and now I've grown it to close to 20,000 with IPO trading almost exclusively. So 2 accounts that I've, I guess, 5x'd and 10x'd respectively.
With Webull, it's more my daughter's like college fund, so I play much more conservatively on that one, and often don't trade it at all. So um, get my own Benzinga show. Um, I kind of just have the weekly appearance. They the thing about IPO trading is, yeah, I definitely could, I guess, cover if I expanded coverage to recent IPOs, following the quiet period, the lockup expiration, um, that could give me enough content to warrant, a show. There's just, IPOs. We had some weeks last year where we had like 10 IPOs, and then we have weeks where we just have none. And the question is, well, okay, in weeks when I have none, what do I do? Um, but yeah, Harry, yeah, definitely more than open to assistance, guidance, opportunities. Been certainly getting more traction from, um, you know, from people that I never thought would reach out to me about what I'm doing, and clearly am at the, my goal was get 1,000 newsletter subscribers. Do you want to chat SPAC and DSPAC? We have, except that to me, sorry, I'm reading the, I'll send you my phone number. Send me a Hammondish at ipowarriors.com. That's the email. If you send me an email there, that's a great way to get to me. Like DM me on Twitter, Warrior IPO. Those are all ways to get a hold of me. I don't even know how to direct message on this platform. So this is my first time live streaming, guys. I'm using StreamYard, so I'm actually not on the YouTube channel. If I pull up the YouTube channel at the same time, it gives me messed up um, a messed up echo. Algos will pump my picks. Yeah. Um, I can't, these are IPO trades. I don't know how the algos pump anything until it starts trading. But after I'm in on the debut, I'd love for them to pump my picks. And that's one of the things. I mean, I can say that I'm not a. It's possible. I mean, I don't get an allocation, and if I ever get an allocation, it's tiny, and I tell you about it. Um, I'm not a. It's impossible for me to pump and dump these. I'm buying in at the same time as everybody else. That's not necessarily true for things like IINN. I don't have enough influence to pump and dump pets, IINN. These are plays. I took my position and then told people about it. But no, this is just pure community based information. There's no recommendations. I don't think I have enough sway, in especially not on something like TPG, to move markets. But really enjoy the process, the support, the community, and looking. And I really love that. I love doing the research. I love learning about the companies. I like being involved in the market, and just looking for ways to expand this. Getting back into TPG. So at this point, I'm not a day trader, and I fully accept that. Trying to trade these after they debut is not my forte. There are very few setups which I will, there are some like stealth IPOs that are just so predictable that I think that the next one we see, I will, if I catch the debut, take a profit on the initial run, we'll get back in on the touchback down to VWAP into the end of day run. But I'm not a day trader. I like to think I'm learning, but I seem to accumulate bag holding positions much more easily than I hold runners, and that dynamic just doesn't play out in the long run. I do well on these IPO trades. I can get in and out. I like that I'm not so exposed, to the market. Stay in cash for the most part. Build positions in QILD when it's right now it's below 22. QILD below 22 almost seems to always come back up above that level. You get a 1% dividend per month. Yeah, you could play your own covered calls, I guess, and make more money supposedly. But they had a fat dividend last month. I bought, I added a pretty big position last month, and then the dividend was almost, was it 2.2% on a monthly dividend? It was a 50-cent dividend on a $22 stock. So anyway, market's done for the day. TPG. Yeah, I think that run to 34 was maybe the high we see, but it's no, this is really early for an IPO. Remember, it just started trading at 12.34. 1, 2, 3, 4. Interesting. It's like sort of good luck. Um, Now this can, this can run, especially with given that that was pretty conservative debut premium. We did get over 34, which was that huge sell wall we saw. That wall is gone. I don't see another wall, but I would imagine a big one will form at 35 if we get to it. If you do want to day trade this, watch VWAP. These tend to, especially something like this that's being watched by financial institutions, or kind of, I think people are building longer term plays, longer term positions on this one off the debut, on such a conservative debut. This reminds me a little bit of GFS, Global Foundries. Global Foundries debuted in a pretty weak market. We got a really reasonable price. It even dropped from the IPO price. I think the IPO debuted at 46. It dropped down to 43. And if you accumulated there, I mean, it's up to 60 now, and that was like a month ago that it IPO'd. So this is probably a really good price, and for a long-term play. This, I mean, I can't. I'm not a reliable forecaster, but so the market cap on this is 10 billion. If we compare that to, and this isn't going to be all that meaningful. I'm sorry. I'm just doing a really lame. Blackstone's market cap is 143 billion. Someone wants to go research the assets under management for Blackstone versus TPG. Might give us an idea of are you in Ukraine? Yes, I am. A war will spook the markets. Yeah, well, Ukraine has been at war with Russia since 2014. So, all this stuff about going to war, we're talking about, maybe further invasions. I don't think it'll be great for the markets, but Ukrainians are sort of like, what do you mean go to war with Russia? We've been at war with them since they took Crimea in 2014. No, I can't say that people are particularly spooked about it here. I mean, we go about our day. I'm more worried about how it's like -5 degrees Celsius outside right now. And, whether my daughter got enough sleep last night. But the ultimate plan is definitely to try to get out of here in a year or two. So that's not not really where I want to be long term, but you know, not the biggest concern in my life right now. Yeah, GFS is pretty solid. Let's see what else is happening. Pets finally bouncing off VWAP to the upside instead of being allergic to going up through VWAP. I think that's the first time we've seen that in 3 days. Everything else still kind of stuck below VWAP. But nothing up too big. A lot of things down pretty far. If you like Unity, now is a good time to, below 120 has been a pretty attractive entry. NXGL gave up all of its pop from yesterday. Pretty weak news. So, war will affect oil and gold the most. If you think there will be a war, load up on CL. Otherwise, it's a non-event. Yeah, and maybe I don't know, defense stocks. It's that one that Kathy keeps buying, ACAC. No.
one of those that makes the Javelin missiles. CL's crude. I see. Crude index. TPG keeps climbing. Really no ceiling to it at this point. All right, guys. I think I got about 10 more minutes in me here. Not sure. Let's see if people even been in here. You guys can jump over to the Reddit thread if you want to. Again, happy for any donations to PayPal. I guess I got to figure out some stuff here, how to leave this on here. I can also just leave this screen up if you guys want to watch it. And oh, banners. What's that? Example of a banner. Show. Okay. Oh, hey. Click on a banner to show it on the screen. All right. Let's hide that. Create a banner. Contribute. PayPal. And then what? At hotmail.com. Links in them? I don't know. Okay, what does that do? Show. Do they let me do like is that a thing? Nope. See. Web design will get you nowhere. Delete. Well, I don't know. Contribute. Well, I guess you can figure it out. Comments, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. I know it's just a pumper, but PIC is crazy. Under 1 million float. Yep, PIC was the recent IPO. What's that one doing today? Dropping. There is definitely a trend in trading groups pumping low float IPOs. And the thing is that you don't know when or which ones. Some have been completely ignored. They tend to go for the ones that are ultra low float, but not every single one has been pumped. Definitely not one to play. You don't want to be holding those off the debut unless they get, I can't say you shouldn't play low float IPOs off the debut. There's some like Hour that ran like crazy, but you really want to be looking at who's the underwriter. Is there a story? Is the debut price too risky or not? And if it's, a high premium, but not ridiculous like SIDU, but instead like Hour or MITQ had a pretty high premium, or SOPA, but that was a stealth IPO. There are definitely scenarios where I like the low float IPO off the debut. But those that do fall, Vine was a good example. Feel for a 2-day hold on. Okay. Vine was a good example. PIC took a while. But a lot of these we've seen them kind of fall for a bit. And then once they reach a base, you see, if you back test them, you can see that people were accumulating shares and then they pump them. So they're easy to pump and dump. There is an entire section of Twitter, it seems, is picking up on this. I will start to, I look at one that I'm tracking right now is NRSN. So they're down at 260, which I think is a good accumulation point.
for these, and it's a biotech that does ALS and Alzheimer's drugs, and they have 4 presentations coming up in March at the H.W. Wainwright. So Maxim has a $7 price target on them. They're going to present at. They have some presentations coming up. Anyway, it's kind of like the risk downside from $2.60 off a $5 IPO with warrants is, a dollar, and the upside when if they release news is, $2, $3, $4. So TPG for a day 2 run, very possible. This day 2 media cycle tends to be more for, I would say, brand names that resonate with retail, people who, stocks where you can imagine it showing up in your, say, news feed saying, oh, this company IPOs and, is up 30% off the IPO. And people are like, oh, that company IPO'd, Dutch Brothers IPO'd, I'm going to go in and buy more. Or I'm going to go buy that. Unity IPO'd, okay, well, I'm going to buy it the next day. So if they're popular names, like I expect, for example, when Reddit IPOs, that to be somewhat of a, I really think it'll be a social media event. And I think that the day 2 follow through will be pretty high. We don't see them on all of them, but TPG goes higher day 2 if stock closes within 50% of the high. Do you mean within 50% of the high? So if if it just stays here and so if 34.15 is the high, if it's within, say, 33.50 or higher, it goes higher in day 2. I don't know. I think TPG is not going to move dramatically in one direction or another until the market sort of settles down. But I think the upside is a lot higher than the downside from here. I would say that for TPG, $29.50, that IPO price, and really $30 at a hard level is a pretty good downside resistance. I have a hard time believing that it would fall much further than that. We saw in the pre-debut imbalance at 32 was really, they just didn't have many sellers at 32. So even that might be a pretty good indicator of resistance to the downside. I like to think that strong companies that debut in weak markets give you the best opportunity to start a long position. So I got in and out of this just because I'm not trying to keep my funds tied up right now, and played this sort of as a exhibition game to show what my strategy is and to get people to play along with the game. I'm happy that I was able to take a $1 win. $1 from the in at 33 out at 33.95. But up here you're above VWAP, RSI is above 50. I don't know which way this is going to go, but if I had to guess, I'm saying it's going to come back down to VWAP at some point here today. And if it runs, great. If it doesn't, I'm out of this anyway. So, all right, we are at 1:30 here. I think that most of the action on this is played up. Not sure if there's. Okay, we've got 30 people still watching. I'm going to give you guys the link to the Reddit thread. You guys can. Yeah, I'm going to give you guys the link to the Reddit thread. You guys can, continue with each other over there. I've had a great time. I hope you guys have had a great time. I'll kind of digest whatever feedback you guys would like to send me. Hammondish at ipowarriors.com. And And really appreciate the support. Really appreciate the participation, and hope you guys had fun today. I think I hope everybody made money on this one who played it. If you didn't, if you lost money, really consider not selling on day one for a loss unless you see, you know, red flags, sharks swimming, blood in the water. I mean, there are times where, I mean, where you might really have to get out for day one, a day one loss, but more often than not, even on the bad day ones, Unity, AI, those kind of step out in my mind. We saw big rallies the day, on day two and beyond. So on a solid stock in a market where this did not debut at a high premium, I don't see a, I've very rarely seen this force you to take a loss on day one where you weren't later given the opportunity to get out at break even or better. So hopefully you took profits. If you're still in it, good luck, and I will check in later on Reddit. But thanks, you guys. For tomorrow, I'm not sure I'll be. We'll see. Maybe I'll jump on CISA. I'll send out a. You guys follow me on Twitter, Warrior IPO. Let's see what else. And I'm always in the Reddit chat, so if I do decide to jump into a live stream, I just got a lot of stuff I got to do. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm many hours in front of you guys. It's already 8:30 p.m. for me, so I got a bunch of other stuff I got to do tomorrow, and that's a wrap. All right, later, guys.